What is up, everybody? We are back on the Lasagna Show. It is yours truly, the soon to be renamed Mr. Lasagna,
Mm.
with my good friend Connor over here. We're going to talk some Yankees baseball. Happy Aaron Judge MVP day to everyone who celebrates. I know there's not Mariners fans. A lot of there's a lot of receipts being thrown around on Twitter right now, and it's an absolute hellhole over there. But what's going on, Connor? How's it going?
I actually haven't been on Twitter tonight, man, which means that I've been doing pretty good. My spirits are high.
Less is more.
I think once everyone saw the odds shift dramatically, like a couple days ago, I think people were pretty much like, there's a bit of an anticlimax to Judge winning, because I think we all expected it. So,
Yeah.
happy for him, happy for his family. Would be a lot happier if we had a ring. So. I don't really like to talk about this stuff. It's good. It's good that he won. He should have won. He deserved it. It'd have been ridiculous if he didn't. But I don't know. I don't do I don't throw parades over stuff like this. So
100%. You know, it's one of those things that was a very heated debate towards the end of the season. Cal, getting, I think he hit what, 60?
60, yeah.
Did he finish with 60? Something like that.
65 when you count the playoffs.
I saw that everyone went nuts over that whole debate.
Just
so
give me a break.
this puts like you said, an anticlimactic end to the whole debate. A lot of Mariners fans felt that since he was a catcher, Cal would have an edge because it's a difficult position, and he's got to but he's got to operate and facilitate the whole pitching staff while also hitting, which is tough. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not. I totally respect the fact that Cal has a very difficult job at catcher, but Cal being a catcher doesn't override the basically a dozen categories that Aaron Judge led him in offensively.
And the margins by which he led, right? I think the thing we're really missing, and whenever you hear people go really hard in the paint for Cal, who's a great player and had a fantastic year, and we should all feel comfortable celebrating that. 100%. You don't need to tear Cal down to just recognize that the margins were so big. And that, to go back to what I was saying, the thing that you'd never heard anyone say when they were trying to craft a really compelling argument for Cal, it never really included anything to account for the difference. It was just kind of like, okay, so you're a coach of a team, say it's Little League, and you got your two best hitters are right field and catcher, but you have to lose one. Which one are you going to lose? It's like, that's not the question. It's a matter of basic arithmetic. And do you feel comfortable basically giving a guy this huge advantage because of, granted, playing a much more challenging position that's worth 35% more production? And I think that the silent majority of voters and fans who weren't necessarily beating the drum as hard or as loudly on social media all agree that it's just too much of a difference to make up for with I wouldn't call it a gimmick, but the fact that he catches, it's not important enough. It's important, but not that important.
Right. And you can't, another thing is, okay, Cal is getting all of this credit for being a catcher, which means you're discrediting what Judge did for not being a catcher. Judge shouldn't be penalized any more than, Cal should be favored because of the catcher discussion.
Right.
That's just the nature of the position Cal plays.
By how much? Right. By how much?
Yeah. Right. And if the OPSs were close, maybe the homers were close.
Not even in the same realm.
Did Judge win a batting title? Did he hit like 330?
Yeah. Well, everyone's talking
1,200.
The last 2 years, we've had a lot of really historical seasons that have dominated the MVP conversations. And the thing that never gets talked about, hasn't gotten talked about at all, is that Judge did something very historical too. He had the most homers of any batting champion in history of either league. That's pretty significant, considering the fact that we've had some pretty amazing home run totals from. And back in the day, you think about the kind of guys that were hitting 50 bombs, we're batting like 320, 330, 340. So it's pretty impressive in its own right. And I don't want to hear, people have deluded themselves into believing that Judge is a bad defender because they're clinging so desperately to this argument. And it's not the case. And Cal is a fine catcher defensively. He's got flaws. He's got incredible strengths. It's not a matter of whether you like his tools or that tool, that tool or this tool. He just had a better year by that much where, look, we dealt with this with Shohei. I think Yankees fans are used to it. That was a harder debate. Was Shohei is doing this amazing thing with pitching and hitting. Judge is a better hitter, but by how much? And even then, Judge by a very slim margin made up the difference. This year, it wasn't close. the voting was
Right.
closer in many ways because Judge didn't have the extra appeal of having a home run record and everything, that Cal kind of did as a catcher. But I would consider that a much more closely watched and tracked and easy to argue debate from either side back when Shohei was an Angel before he chickened out and joined the All-Star team across the highway.
Right. And there's been, obviously the defense plays a big part in it. We've had really good offensive catchers in the past. Obviously, they didn't hit 60 home runs.
Nothing on this level.
Yeah. Right. Nothing on this level, but
take nothing away.
It's not like we haven't seen a catcher hit, very, very well before. What Shohei was doing was having a full starting pitcher stat line in addition to hitting 50 home runs and hitting like 3 something. That's something we've never seen before, something we're probably never going to see again.
Yeah.
And the only reason Judge won was because his WAR, was higher than Ohtani's combined WAR as a pitcher and hitter. So that's what a lot played into it. Judge also set the American League single season home run record. So that was a very healthy debate, and there was a lot of great arguments on both sides for that one. But for this one, with how wide, like you said, how wide the margins were in a lot of categories. I mean, Judge hitting 330, 50 something home runs. OPS was like 1,200. He had like a 200 weighted runs created plus, a bunch of hits, bunch of this, bunch of that. And if you look at the defensive metrics, I think there wasn't that much of a difference. So there was a guy on Twitter who was hammering me on the fact that, Cal Raleigh, he's like some elite defender, blah, blah, and Judge is like horrible defender. Like, Judge isn't that bad of a defender.
Yeah.
Plus, he missed time, which contributed to some of these things. He wasn't making the throws that he usually makes. He was being a little bit more careful out there. He was DHing a lot.
You can tell who watches the games, and you can tell who doesn't. And you can tell who's in the pocket and has developed an ideology around it. And I think it's important for us as Yankee fans, especially now that it's over, just to kind of say, oh, that was pretty cool. I kind of got to keep tabs on this other great season that was happening. And we got to know Mariners Twitter a little bit, which I have to say is a bit more engaging than Angels Twitter, because it brings memories back. Thinking about the Shohei stuff, we had some fun with that. But even thinking back, I think if the Angels won the division crown in the West that year, I think it's probably Shohei. And I'd forgotten that. I really do think it was that close of a call where it came down to a combination of things, but one of those things was relevance and being on a winner. And so I think that might have been one of the things that kind of tipped the scales for Judge was, division champs and, right in the mix. So, that was a lot closer, And
it's crazy because this debate is taken away from just taking a second to step back and understand what Aaron Judge is doing on a historical perspective. I mean, he set the single season home run record for the American League. He's hit 50-something home runs before. He's had a good average before, but every year he's like, I want to get better. I want to get better. I don't only want to be a home run hitter. I want to be a complete hitter. I want to hitting 300 still means something to him. I know batting average is a very unpopular thing to favor these days, and there are better ways to quantify how good a player is offensively, but some of the old school guys still consider 300 to be a very respectable number as a hitter. And if you're hitting for power and hitting 300 at the same time, I think it's something to definitely notice.
Yeah.
So for Judge to come back and be like, I want to win a batting title while I lead the league in homers or while I hit 50 homers, whatever he did, it's unbelievable. Because of how good the pitching is these days and how hard guys throw, how everything is measured by a computer, everything's a TrackMan, reading spin, reading, arm slot, tunneling, all these different things. Pitching has advanced to a point where it's harder to hit now than ever before in history. And for Judge to continue to do what he's doing every year, hit 330, hit 1 million home runs, considering how good pitching has advanced, it's something you got to just sit back and kind of, take in and appreciate on a historic level, because I think there's a great case to be made that he's the greatest right-handed hitter of all time.
Oh yeah.
Considering some of those things.
Yeah. I know that you hate LeBron, but let me give you an example here.
No.
I've always said that I think Jordan's better than LeBron, but I've never cheated myself on watching greatness. And so I never let any of his antics make me forget how good he was. And I feel like when I talk to you, it's like I know for you it's complicated because you're a Lakers fan too. But I can
appreciate
hopefully
the
because eventually
you'd be dumb if you did.
Eventually, he'll be older than he is now, and it'll be like just memories. And hopefully we can all look back on Judge, whether he wins a World Series or not, and objectively appreciate. I think we will. We all will be, as Yankee fans. We will be appreciate that we really got a chance to watch an all-time great, surpassing the likes of Jeter and maybe even an Alex Rodriguez in pinstripes. Speaking for our generation, I think you can go even farther back in Reggie Jackson. I think Judge is better than him, except for the postseason, right? The thing I struggle with is there are a lot of fans that just live to hate the man, and I don't understand it. And I try not to let it bother me, but it does, because I feel like they're cheating themselves. And in 15 years, they're going to tell a false story about what's going on with him because of some kind of, I don't know. When it comes to being a fan, when it comes to, being an organization or a franchise, rings are all that matters. But it's not Don Mattingly's fault that he never won one. It's not, Ernie Banks.
Look at Dan Marino, Charles Barkley,
Right. So when it's all said and done, we're fans, and when it comes to 2026, it's all I want is a title. And it's all the Judge should want. But at the same time, like, pump the brakes, take a few moments this time of year to kind of stop and smell the roses and think about the fact that, like, we are in the midst of something that could end in a year and a half with a bad injury. It could end in 2 years from old age. We don't know. So it's happening right now. Just appreciate it. That's it.
And a lot of that, it's the Yankee factor. If he played on a different team, I think a lot of people would, kind of see him in a different light. But because the Yankees fan base and what comes with the pinstripes and, the historic, organization, whatever, he's going to catch a lot of hate for that. And it didn't help, part of this whole bad on defense rap is, the drop ball in center field during the World Series and, some of those kind of things. So people see him as a underwhelming defender for some reason. He's had one of the best arms in the sport for years. He's a phenomenal right fielder. He was playing out of position when he was in center field. And you're asking a 6'7", 300-pound man to cover gaps in center field. Sometimes his metrics are going to take a hit because he's not as fast as some of the other guys. Maybe his routes aren't as good. He's not going to come in on the ball as quickly as some of these little speedy guys do. He's not going to be doing things in center field that Pete Crow.
Let me ask you a question. Who's more athletic in the conventional sense? Jaron, and taking into account age, so you don't get like a bonus or a nerf if you're a different age. Just right now, Jaron Duran or Aaron Judge?
Duran.
Duran's more athletic. He's faster. He's quicker. He got a better jumps on balls in the outfield. Can play center field.
Quick as shit. He's shifty. He's got good footwork. It's hard for a 300-pound, 6'7" man to have great feet. He's going to be heavy.
Aaron Judge has been a better defender.
Gravity's not in your favor.
The point of the question is that Aaron Judge has been a better defender for the preponderance of his career and made fewer mistakes this past postseason as well, for what that's worth. It's just like people want to buy into certain narratives because they get fatigued on certain guys. So as Yankee fans, we have to be the opposite. We have to just kind of ignore that and just appreciate it. And remember that it's a team game with a 25-man roster. And it's if we win a World Series, he'll be a part of it, but it won't be just him. We need other guys to contribute. And so what we want from him is to continue to do what he's been doing. And there are a lot of other guys where they either have to reinvent themselves or get shipped out. So, we got bigger problems than Aaron Judge and his clutch.
And it's very unfortunate that this is the year that everyone deems he hit in the postseason and they lost in the divisional round. So, it kind of feels like a waste. You don't know if we kind of caught lightning in the bottle there with him or if can he do it next year? Is this like him turning the corner and being able to do it going forward? Did he flip a switch? Did something click for him? That's a lot of us are kind of sitting back thinking, damn, you were at the game, the ball over the foul pole. It just felt like everyone's like, this is what we've been waiting for. This is the year he's going to do it. This is the year he takes us to the promised land. And, it obviously ended prematurely. So you just kind of, as he's going to be 34 years old next year, as he gets into his mid to late 30s, he's going to lose some athleticism. There might be some injuries that flare up. For his size, you don't see a guy that big and strong and muscle bound. And, he's a freak of nature. The guy was built, he looks like something you'd create in a video game. You don't have a long history of guys that size aging well. So these next few years, while he's still in the middle of his prime, before he's too late into his late 30s, we're going to have to see him continue what he did this year in the postseason. We're going to have to see him, continue to manage his body, which he does a great job of, by the way. But certain things like the forearm issue he had, earlier in his career, he dove and he cracked a rib or something like that. Things like that. Sometimes they're freak accidents. He crashes into the wall at Dodger Stadium and messes his toe up. We were there to watch that too. So like you said, you never know what can happen, especially as a guy's aging. So it's not only do we have to appreciate what he's doing right now, but we have to hope that he's going to continue to do what he did this year in the postseason. And continue to hope that this team is going to continue to put guys around him. We're going to help him not have to carry the whole load in October. This year, Stanton kind of fell flat. Bellinger fell flat. Grisham fell flat. A lot of the guys, Jazz fell flat. A lot of the guys we expected to be, part of this juggernaut offense going into October fell flat. So it kind of became the Aaron Judge show, which sometimes it does all too often. But, like you said, taking a step back and kind of realizing what we're watching, make sure you appreciate it, not only as a Yankee fan, but as a baseball fan in general, because it's going to be something that you're going to be telling your kids about in a million years from now.
Yes, exactly. Yep. All right. That dovetails
so we're going
to the real stars this time of year, which is the front office and what they're going to do.
Yeah.
To try to help Aaron Judge out and the rest of the gang. So, yeah, man.
So we got a long list of guys. This time of year on Twitter, after the World Series, you're going to get a lot of names that are going to be thrown around. Obviously, Cashman came out the other day and said that Bellinger is a priority. We've seen what Bellinger can do as a Yankee already. So, that in a sense is kind of running it back. We're getting a lot of comparisons, him versus Kyle Tucker. What's the better move there? Some people, want Bo Bichette. Some people want Pete Alonso. That people is me. You got this Imai guy from Japan who's going to post. Some people are comparing him to, somewhat of a Yamamoto situation. You got Murakami, this Okamoto guy. I don't know a ton about. I've seen some numbers flying around. But what are some of the names that you are hoping they pull the trigger on? What do you think the needs are? What do you think the money is going to be? Like, what are some of your overall thoughts about what's going on with some of these names and where the Yankees should go in free agency?
Okay, yeah. We all will look back and kind of look at the most recent failures we've had as some kind of blueprint that's going to tell us this big comprehensive story of what the Yankees need to do. And that's a liar. That's not really the case all the time. Sometimes it is. Sometimes there's overlap. Most of the time, like when you ask yourself, what's Jazz's biggest problem? It's not the fact that he made this horrible error. He was pretty sound defensively, right? That was a really bad error, but that's not like the problem we have right now at second base. Well, for most fans, you'd think that, right? I think Jazz is great. I think Jazz fills a lot of holes for us. He's very versatile. He's shown an attitude where I think if you told him tomorrow to play center field opening day, he would do it. And he would do it with power and with relatively good defense. I don't know why that's an issue for people. I think he's great. But when in that moment on that day, I was there. It was terrible. I'm yelling, "What is wrong with you, Jazz?" But that's about that day, that game, that moment, right?
And he was yawning earlier in the game, which
I heard about
viral.
That.
It went viral.
Wasn't that the game where he went yard? Didn't that happen before he went yard? Wasn't that against the Sox? Am I making it up?
I thought it was at home against the Jays.
I think it was. I can't remember. That happened during the game where we won.
It's all a blur. I honestly, it always just lost.
The yawning thing, I was there, so I was like seeing things about it. I'm like, when you're at the game, you're like, who fucking gives a shit?
You can't even see it unless you're fucking sitting in the corner seats. You can't really see that shit out there.
I was in right field, by the way, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right in the happy zone, right in the wall.
Yes, sir. So I know it's the game we won because that's the game I went to. Right.
And that was the game where you saw the homer over the pole, right? That was a different game.
No, that was the one.
That was the one. Okay.
That's what I'm arguing is that it doesn't matter. We're getting off track. But what I'm saying is I think the Jazz Young game was the Judge Bomb game. So someone can tell me in the chat.
Toronto.
Right or not. Yeah, it was against the Jays, but I think it was the game that we won.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I know earlier I said Sox, but I was wrong. Okay. So what I'm trying to say right now is that you'd say right now the Yankees, one of their biggest strengths is starting pitching. That's a good thing. That is not a bad thing. And that's based on what happened last year. And every year is different. And it should never not be a priority for a team that's trying to make a push for a championship to add high-end starting pitching. So there's very few years where I come into the offseason thinking the priority isn't a number one. If you can add a top-end starter, add a top-end starter.
Right.
Unless you legitimately have 5 guys under like major contract commitments for a long time where it's irresponsible to allocate any kind of funds there. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm extremely high in Imai, and I really can't be talked out of it. And I know that it's not just a matter of like money; it's very complicated in that regard. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot comes down to what his priorities are. And there's a few rumors floating around there. And I think that they tend to point towards it being a possibility. So I'm excited about that. And I think that would be just based on how baseball works and the fact that you have injuries and you need guys to like, a problem where everyone's healthy, where you bump a Clark Schmidt into a long relief role is not a problem.
Absolutely.
And I'm not looking necessarily to even trade a Luis Gil or a Clark Schmidt just on that basis alone, because good, reliable starting pitchers are everything in this game, in the regular season and in the postseason. Sure, in the postseason, it's about the top 3 guys, but that's what I'm talking about, man. So for that, yes. Offensively, I think there's a tendency to think we need to add some kind of impact bat, and we might do that. But I really think it's more about roster construction and adding guys that I think if you look at a weakness in our roster right now, it's righties, and it's guys that can, you've heard this a lot, guys that can kind of grind out at bats against good pitching, the things that talked us into IKF as a viable starter for us. So it's dangerous, but that is kind of like where I'm leaning, that where I think they're going to go is not just a prototypical power righty necessarily, but guys that can grind out at bats. Not at first base, so I think Pete Alonso is very much still in play, as are a lot of other guys. I don't think they're necessarily going to say, let's run it with Ben Rice. So if we're going to add power, it's going to be at that position, I think. But outfield, if we're going to add depth, we're going to go away from Grish and maybe a little bit of third base depth too, if we don't believe Ragman's the guy. I think we're going to see a lot of kind of high OPS, low power, kind of defensive first, high contact guys with some experience. Yeah. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, and I think some of that is what we saw on the Blue Jays, which is what made them, so tough. A guy like Ernie Clement, look what he did in the World Series. Obviously, that's kind of an outlier, and not every, quote unquote light hitting utility man is going to do that. You can't predict that. It's just kind of one of those freak things where he hit 400 for the whole playoffs. Like, okay, well, no one expected that, so you can't really, use a situation like that. But my overbearing feeling in this whole situation is we got to identify guys who are playoff risers, guys who hit in October, guys who have a track record of doing it before, guys who are used to a big market. We need to start identifying guys who can hit in October, because
they're hard to find, man. They're hard to find under the age of 34. They're really hard to find.
Well, the good news is there are a few available right now.
Okay, let's talk about
Bo Bichette, Pete Alonso. So the Bo Bichette thing is weird because, everyone thinks of him as a shortstop, and he's a very bad defensive shortstop. So after the 2024 World Series, the Yankees got clowned by the Dodgers about fundamentals, about defense, blah, blah, blah. I think that finally, hit a nerve for them, and they decided to pivot towards a more defensive-minded approach, building their team for 2025. You had a Goldschmidt at first, getting some run there. Cody Bellinger plays multiple positions in the outfield. You had Jazz move to second base where he's more natural. So you had them move. You got a McMahon at third base. So you had them move more towards this. Okay, we need to prioritize defense more because we can't keep going with Glaber and a bunch of these other guys fucking things up out there. So it's weird because we saw Bo Bichette play second base in the World Series, and some people are like, hey, why doesn't Bo Bichette come to the Yankees? He plays second base. We can trade Jazz. Because Jazz is coming into his last year of this contract. He's going to be a free agent. I don't think Brian Cashman has the appetite to pay him top dollar based on his injury history. Injury history is a very big thing about Brian Cashman. He held that above Aaron Judge's head when Aaron Judge was becoming a free agent. So some people are floating this thing out there. Maybe Jazz gets moved. You put Bo at second. You kind of eat some of the bad defense, and you hope he hits enough to make up for it. I wouldn't mind that. It would surprise me if they did it, because I think Jazz is a fan favorite, and I think Cashman's cognizant of that too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things at play here. If you add a Pete Alonso, is Ben Rice good enough as a catcher to play catcher every day? I don't know. I think Ben Rice is better defensively than people think. they said Austin Wells coming up was an awful, defensive catcher, and he would never be an everyday catcher, and he ended up being pretty damn good. So what
he's
if
pretty
Ben
awesome,
Rice is,
man. I feel like they're going to be very resistant to move away from Austin Wells because I think we really undervalue, like the public undervalues Austin Wells' value as a defensive catcher, and I think that they know he's got it in him offensively. I think it's fanciful to think that Ben Rice is just going to be the starting catcher for the entire season for us.
Ben Rice or Wells?
Yeah, Ben Rice. I don't think that. Did I say Wells? Yeah, I think it's fanciful to think that Ben Rice will just be our day one starting catcher, catch every 5 games. I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
Do you think that this is also the organization that ran with Jorge Posada for a long time, who was more of an offensive catcher than he was a defensive catcher? Do you think there's a world?
Is it the same Ben organization?
The streets are saying I might have to check on that. But
I got you. I understand.
Can Ben Rice be a better defensive catcher than we think, and catch 4 to 5 times per week, and allow them to sign a Pete Alonso to play first base? He's going to
absolutely. I think they maybe
and he hits in the playoffs. He hits in the damn playoffs, and he's used to playing in New York. Like, this is something they have to consider.
I think they maybe should do it. Sorry, I was adjusting my chair for a second. I think they maybe should do it. I just don't think they're going to. And so I kind of like. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I just don't spend a lot of time thinking about it because even if I may or may not think they should, they're not gonna do it. So I'm kind of like I focused on like the, I don't go in for like the edits of Fernando Tatis in the Yankees uniform, but if all of a sudden that got announced, great. I'll be even more excited than anyone else.
Well, that is a long.
You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Like Ben Rice that's fantasy baseball, putting him at catcher and saying, forget it. What are they going to do with Wells? They can't trade Wells right now, and they can't just have Wells as backup. As a back. You were ruining his entire development if you make him the backup.
Here's the problem: is Ben? What's more important, getting bona fide, proven bats in the lineup and moving guys around defensively to fit them there, or is also
developing Wells? The first one. I agree, but that's not what the Yankees organization does. They've really, for the last 12 years, they've put a major emphasis on having at least a portion of their roster be made up of guys that are either like controllable or in development and on the ascent and under 30. And I think it's an economic decision and also an athleticism, things we like, okay? The ability to go out there and afford high-end, top quartile talent to complement that and to be more athletic overall, more speed. And we've loved all those things. That's what's gotten us to this place where we're World Series contenders each year, as opposed to, I know we got knocked out in the ALDS, but like that was kind of like the ceiling for a while. I do really believe that we're still – in that category as an organization right now.
Too. But so one thing
they won't get away from that. Maybe they should in this one case. I'm not arguing with you on Rice.
No, 100%.
They're just not gonna.
And some of it is me more talking from the heart than it is actually saying that this is something they might do. I don't actually think this is something they might do, but should they think about it? Yes. But the one thing that does give me a little bit of pause and a little bit of hope is how much they played Ben Rice at catcher down the stretch because they wanted more offense in the lineup. And they got him back there. He was playing 3 or 4 times a week, Ben Rice at catcher, down the stretch during a pennant chase in important games. And they trusted him to be back there to get his bat in the lineup because against lefties, they needed Paul Goldschmidt to play first base. So they put Paul Goldschmidt at first base. They needed that defense, but they wanted Paul Goldschmidt's bat against lefties. But they also wanted to keep Ben Rice's bat in there. So what I'm saying is if they were confident enough to play Rice at catcher down the stretch in very important games and a pennant chase to get that offensive bat at first base against lefties, would they trend in that direction to get a Pete Alonso? You flip a Goldschmidt for a Pete Alonso, you pay Pete Alonso the money. Now all of a sudden, not as good a defender, but now you don't have to worry about that platoon situation at first. You slide Rice at catcher, who you just showed you trust to be there in big games. Now you got a bat that hits in the playoffs at first base. And you got a guy who's used to playing in New York and can use that short porch to go oppo as a proven bat to slide in there behind Aaron Judge. And then as soon as Stanton, your boy, is gone here in a couple years, you slide Pete Alonso right into that DH role and you keep.
You mean Stanton's gone? My boy. Okay.
My bad, Stanton. Who
I love it. You said your boy, which I I'm flattered.
Stanton. Yeah, Stanton. So
you didn't even say
he's
Stanton.
what? He's got 2 more years.
The people at home might not know.
I thought I said Stanton, but he's
boy.
going to be what 28, 27 or 28 is when he's gone.
Oh man, well, it's almost.
I think
irrelevant.
28. I think 28. He's gone. I think he's got 26 and 27 left.
Yeah,
but people are always scared about Pete Alonso. Oh, he's going to. I think
G's got one. I think G's got 1 year left in him, man. I'm starting to get a little nervous about his longevity because he looked so good and he played. They tried to time it, and it didn't work. He fell off physically. It seemed right at the end of the season. He was so good.
28.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and his regular season was one of the best of his whole career. And we're sitting there,
we're
sitting there excited because we think it's gonna, he's gonna hit in the playoffs like he always does, and he didn't, which was so irritating. But let me get to some comments here real quick. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you guys for leaving these comments. We appreciate them a ton. Pope Spanish says, Pope Spanish says, is this available on Spotify? I'd love to listen on my train ride home. Not yet. A lot of stuff's been going on. I was going to look into, different stuff with the configuration of the show, maybe iTunes, maybe Spotify down the line. I will look into that and see because I like to listen to shows like that too. I don't always listen to them live. I listen to them later. So I will look into that and I will get back to you on that and announce something on here once I find out. We are seeing some comments here. 240 hitters don't win MVPs. Ouch. That was a big thing with the big dumper over there. Smooth Operations, what's up, fellas? Glad Judge won MVP. If only this can motivate Cashman Howell to get him help, that would be amazing. Robert says Ohtani in a bet to Ohtani put a bet in the Class A for him to win MVP. Oh man, that whole betting thing is insane. What is up, Mike?
Hey, Robert, that was a good joke. That was a good joke, Robert. 20 minutes ago.
I know. I'm just sifting through them. Mike says I've been a fan since '87. I've seen no shortage of Yankee greatness with us. I've never imagined to play with Aaron Judge. We take it for granted. It's very true. Tommy says things I trust more than the Yankees front office are gas station hot dogs, 1-star Taco Bells, and gas station sushi. Holy shit!
It depends on what part of the country you're in, because
definitely not California. Don't get it
out in Lasagna's neck of the woods. I would say maybe you get a good chance if you're in like Los Angeles, like near Echo Park. It would
have to. It can't be an Arco type of thing. It's got to be one of those trendy hipster gas stations where they got like authentic organic shit.
With a drip coffee. Yeah.
Oh man, drip coffee. Bernard says Brandon Donovan. That is a great name. He's versatile. He can play second and third. He can even play outfield. Left-handed. He's a good offensive player. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, Bernard, great call. That's exactly what we're talking about, where the guy isn't necessarily like all-star every year, but it's the kind of complimentary piece that I think, whether that trade works out or that move works out, that's the kind of thing I think they're looking for in addition to maybe some pitching depth. So, yeah, that makes sense.
That would be a perfect move. Bottom of the order. I'm not going to put a ton of pressure on him. He can move the line down. He can move things along, get the lineup turned over. What would it cost to get him? I don't know. I got to look at his contract and see, how much control he's got, whatever. But we have pitching. We have controllable pitching, like you said. Luis Hill. We got young guys in the minors. We got Clark Schmidt coming back. Will Warren is expendable because Garrett Cole's coming back.
Yeah.
There are guys that we can move to acquire a player like that. So,
everyone's talking about Spencer Jones. Everyone who's hating on our potential capital for making these moves when they're ducking on the Yankees, they all talk about Spencer Jones because I think he's the most valuable piece that anyone talks about. But from a major league ready talent,
massive upside.
Trading for a guy like Donovan, the Cardinals are never like in a 2-3 year plan. They're trying to win. They're trying to get back to where we are right now for their fan base. So that's the kind of trade where you can't even waive a Spencer Jones, maybe because he's right there at AAA. But other guys were like the most valuable prospects are at single A. They don't even want those guys. They want guys like Luis Hill. They want guys like Cam Schlittler if they're dreaming. They want.
Oh no, you can't move him. You can't move him.
We're not going to, but I mean that's when you're making the calls.
100%. What about? They're going to ask for him.
Yeah.
They're going to start there.
They want guys that have shown they can do it in the show. Yeah,
exactly.
We have a lot of those guys. Even Clark Schmidt has shown a little bit. Yeah.
So
I don't think we're doing a Miguel.
Real quick.
Am I crazy? Are we doing like a Clint Frazier, Miguel Andujar thing again?
No.
Clark Schmidt.
We're off.
And Luis Hill.
We understand on this show that you got to give something to get something. All right. You got a couple of negotiators. I'm just kidding. No, but
yeah, they have value now. They might not have value this time next year.
we are from a position of strength with our farm system and with some of the guys we have at the major league level, especially if you add an Imai into your starting rotation. You can a Will Warren, a Louis Hill, a ERC in the minors. You got LaGrange out there that does $1 billion. Ben Hess. There are arms that teams want and that teams covet, and we are in a position of strength to offer those for guys that will make an impact on this roster now, because you are in an Aaron Judge prime window when you need to win now. This is, they kind of try to do this hybrid, save prospects while also adding kind of hybrid rebuild thing to kind of stockpile the minor league system and have some guys for the future while also signing big time free agents. You got to push your chips all in right now, because the way the Blue Jays are trending, the way the Dodgers are trending, the Dodgers are, not trending. They're already there. They're a juggernaut.
Trending higher.
You need to compete with those guys, and you need to do it quickly, because you can't look 3 years down the line. Aaron Judge is 37. Bodies may be breaking down, and you look back at this window like, damn, we had to get as good or better than them to make a real run at this thing. Because if you don't win, you have a 2027 potential lockout there, which is going to throw a wrench into everything. It's going to make, I don't know if there's going to be a salary cap. I don't think it's going to happen, but I doubt. But there's probably going to be a work stoppage in there, and you're going to get a wasted year of Aaron Judge.
Oh, Jesus, that'd be the worst thing. And don't even say that.
So there has to be urgency right now.
Yeah, I agree. Let me ask you a question. How much, because the Yankees were pretty aggressive at the deadline. We had a whole show about it. In fact, it might be like one of the last few times we talked on this.
And I thought they did well, honestly.
They did right on paper. They did great, and they addressed their needs. But do you think maybe we would have seen more movement? Maybe you go for a Eugenio Suarez, a short-term thing, over Ryan McMahon if Cole wasn't hurt, and we were rolling in there with just squad up, like ready for anything. Because the Yankees, for me, the story of this past year, I'll just tag on to my question really briefly. Mm-hmm. The story was, how did they do all that without Cole? Because I think we get into this, it's like a frog in hot water. Like we're in the hunt. We take it for granted right away, and we should. But looking back, like we did all that without Cole, man. We were despondent when he went down. And obviously, you have Fried and Rodon having great years, really contributing to that. But, the front office is looking at the windows, I think, more than we give them credit for. And Cole being hurt, it's like, do we put all the chips in? I think they put a third of the chips in, maybe less. And I want to get your take on that with the Cole and the front office question.
I feel like for not having Cole, they pivoted to Max Fried. But the pivot to Max Fried was mostly because they didn't sign Juan Soto, and they offered him $700.
I'm talking about at the deadline last year. So, we were kind of sputtering. We were kind of sputtering, but we were in a good position record-wise to be in the hunt, fulfilling their obligation to just make the show and let the chips go, right? Throw the dice. But are they going to be that aggressive now, given your point about the potential work stoppage, where it's 2026 or who knows? Not or nothing, but or who knows? Maybe we are. And the one really quick thing. Sorry,
no.
Cashman sounds to me like an 8 out of 10 from what I'm used to from him in terms of hinting at possible big splashes. An 8 out of 10, but like very below the radar. Like, what are your thoughts? Am I totally reading into that, or what do you think?
I think you're onto something there for sure. Looking back at the trade deadline, outside of like Eugenio Suarez and stuff like that, who wasn't a great defender at third, but could hit, were there really those humongous trade chips that you really should go all in on that were going to make a huge difference for us? I don't know if they were out there. Can you remember any names specific? I'd have to go back and look at who was being shopped at the time.
Some of the higher end relievers that the guys that got moved.
Mason Miller, but
would have helped us in the postseason.
It would have helped in the postseason, but you couldn't really look into the future, obviously. But what ended up being our problem against the Blue Jays was Max Fried and Carlos Rodon shitting themselves against that Blue Jays lineup, and Mason Miller wasn't going to help that. So it was one of those things where do you send
you're making the argument for why the front office, if they did that, if they didn't take action because of that thought, then you're making the argument for why they were absolutely right to not do anything differently.
And I thought what they did was strong. I wanted a Doval. I thought that was a good move. McMahon, left-handed in Yankee Stadium, plays really good defensive third base. I thought that was a good move.
Are we in danger of becoming a pro Cashman podcast? I feel like
we're
on the verge of. We're kind of all in agreement with what they've done.
My biggest problem with Cashman isn't in the fact that he doesn't make moves, because he makes moves. My problem is building the roster like 85% of the way and leaving those few holes here and there that end up being things they need to address at the deadline. Then you end up overpaying with prospects, and then you end up with a kind of an unfinished product when you could have gone all in. I want that killer instinct, go for the big names, which they kind of did, going into 2009. CC Sabathia, AJ Burnett, Mark Teixeira, but they had the core four in place there, so they had a base, and they bought a bunch of dudes to put around that. Right now we have Aaron Judge. Obviously, you got Ben Rice, who's kind of developing and kind of becoming that great hitter. Jazz, he's got 1 year left on his deal. Volpe's not great. McMahon's, defense first guy. Bellinger's a free agent. So what is the core right now? I think most of our core is pitching. Obviously, we're going to have Max Fried for a long time. Cam Schlittman looks fantastic. Garrett Cole will probably have 3 or 4 good years left. Rodon, he's learning how to pitch with less velocity. So I think you need to find those impact position players to complement the rotation you have. And I think you can use some of your prospect capital in the pitching department, which is a strength, to go out there and get those impact names, along with signing some impact offensive players like a Kyle Tucker or a Pete Alonso.
Right. Would you agree with them? Here, let's talk about Tucker and Bellinger. Let's just do that. Let's get really focused and just talk about maybe a little bit.
That's a big debate right now.
Yeah, maybe talk a little bit like how you think. What do you think is going through the front office's heads right now in terms of the strategy and kind of letting the offseason kind of come to us? And then I'll give you my thoughts, but I want to hear yours first.
I think they are valuing his defensive versatility a lot, Cody Bellinger. He can play all 3 outfield positions at a high level. He can also play first base if needed. He showed that he can hit close to 30 homers and hit 280 with a 9-something OPS or 8-something, whatever it was, which was very good. Obviously, buyer beware, because there is some, contract year kind of stuff going on there. It wasn't really a contract year. He opted out, but everyone knew if he had a good year, he was going to opt out and capitalize on it. So that's exactly what he's doing. There's a little bit of a sense right now with the Mets being interested, potentially the Red Sox or some other teams, the Dodgers maybe. This could become a bidding war for Cody Bellinger that the Yankees don't want to get involved in. So if it gets to the point where you're going to have to either overpay Bellinger or pay top dollar for Kyle Tucker, you might as well go for the younger player in Kyle Tucker, who has a higher ceiling offensively, who's going to be that impact bat for you. So and Kyle Tucker, like I said, I know I talked about identifying some of these playoff risers and guys that hit well in October. Kyle Tucker's not that. But, if you're going to make a long-term investment into one of these guys, Tucker's younger. Tucker has a way higher ceiling with his weighted runs created plus, all the different metrics that value offense. He's better there. Not as versatile defensively, not as good as a defender, but you're going to get a guy who's going to be a very, very good high-end bat for a long time. Some of his down year numbers this season was due to injury, plus hitting in Chicago. A lot of people said the wind was blowing in often this year. Obviously, that plays a role in hitting home runs, so his power numbers were down. But if you look at the weighted runs created plus for the career, Bellinger's is 119. Tucker's is 138 for his career. That's a big gap, and he's younger. So if you're going to make the investment into a quote-unquote star player, left-handed bat, offensive player, offense first outfielder, I think Tucker is the move there, especially if Bellinger's going to get into a bidding war situation here. We know he's a Scott Boras client. If you're going to pay out the ass for either one, you might as well pay for the younger guy with a higher upside offensively.
Last year, people were talking about the potential for Tucker to fetch upwards of $500 million. Mm-hmm. He had a bit of a down year. I know that because I had him in fantasy.
So did I. You and me both.
But he was fine. He was all right.
Yeah.
That's probably his floor. Kind of look at it like Soto's first half. Wasn't even that bad. Right?
Yeah.
He's in that tier where he gets talked about in that way where his OPS is only 830. What a bump.
Holy?
Right. By the way, that's Ben Rice. It feels like that's like his floor is Ben Rice. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about contracts, and I said earlier, kind of letting it come to you, I think I wouldn't be shocked if their total, maybe not AAV, but maybe the AAV would be pretty close for Bellinger and Tucker. Right. Tucker will get more years and more total dollars because he's 2 years younger. Mm-hmm. But they're still relatively close in age. They have a lot of similar characteristics defensively, versatility wise. I think Bellinger maybe is more embracing of a put me where you want kind of, mm-hmm. right? Tucker might want to feel comfortable, feel like he's been given that stamp. But he's a quiet guy.
Not easy to play at Yankee Stadium.
Left field, right? Yeah. I mean, I think the point you made earlier I thought was interesting, where you said contract year stuff with Bellinger. I think you see that show up on the defensive side of the ball. I think you see guys when they're playing for their big money, they go, and Bellinger did. So it ties in with what you're saying. Did. He really went balls to the wall defensively. And you'd like to think that if you give a guy a long-term contract, you get a continuation of that. But it's a long season. You're not going to probably get the same kind of, just as he gets older, especially, the all-out defensive masterclass that Bellinger put on in multiple positions, right? But he still is I would say a plus center fielder for what we're used to from a guy that isn't Harrison Bader. Right? Bader had some cool moments, but he's not an offensive threat. Okay?
Exactly.
He looks sweet when he hits bombs, but he's not an offensive threat. With the flow and everything. Dude, I get chills thinking about Bader in 2022. But look, except for when I saw him drop the ball against Houston. Man, I was there for that one too. I've been in the building for so many miserable moments. It's crazy. That was the worst, by the way. It was the Astros. All right. But I think Tucker, you go back a year ago and you start throwing the numbers around you're throwing right now. Not much has changed. He had one kind of down year, but it's a lot more palatable. And you hear the talk around Bellinger and Tucker and the Yankees' general kind of attitude and reading the tea leaves there. Yeah, it's a toss-up. I would be – the only thing I'll say I'll be shocked, truly shocked about, because I think we have to accept what we don't know when it comes to this stuff and what may happen. We probably won't even have mentioned it during this whole show. Mm-hmm. I would be truly shocked if we had neither of them. That would be like, well, what happened instead? What the hell happened instead? So I think maybe there's some unanimity there. Yankee fans probably all agree we need to retain Bellinger or sign Tucker. Mm-hmm. Agree with that? I can't even envision
what you just said. What you just said isn't as unlikely as it might seem to some people. I know a lot of people feel like they'll get one or the other, but that's not guaranteed right now. If Bellinger's thing gets into a bidding war that far exceeds what the Yankees, are comfortable paying for him, they're not going to retain him. They've got a Spencer Jones. They've got a, Jason Dominguez. Aaron Judge is going to play right. Those are three outfilders. Maybe they'll pivot to Pete Alonso or something. But, I mean, they could be in danger of not getting either one, which is, I think, more real. I think it's more realistic than some people might think.
Comes back to the question you asked about Wells, which is what's more important to you, right? It's like the development of Jones and Dominguez, or just making sure that you locked down high-end talent for your offense going into a really important year. Mm-hmm. I do think 2026 is like the most important year for the Yankees since 2009. And I say that because in 2009, we obviously put our money where our mouth was, and we went out and got the talent and we executed on the field. But we forget, if we hadn't won that year, we would have moved stadiums and we'd have 0 titles. And we never had to worry about that. But that would have become a narrative, right? Right now, I mean, if we're start staring down the barrel of a potential work stoppage with Judge entering his late 30s and nothing to show for it, it's a problem. It's a problem potentially that could affect Brian Cashman's job security, which we don't talk about that much because it feels like he's been knighted.
He's Hal's brother, basically.
Yeah, forget Boone. It's like that would be enough to me to feel like this is going to be not like dramatically different from other years, but definitely like heightened urgency. The kind of heightened urgency we all want them to feel every year. I think there's no excuses now. I would be shocked if they didn't feel that, right?
And what's concerning, especially within the division, you've got the Red Sox with a crop of young guys coming up who are really good. Roman Anthony, fantastic. A few other guys. They got some good pitching too. They've got 2 or 3 young guys who are studs, along with Crochet. That group is going to keep getting better. The Blue Jays, they are showing a tendency recently of going out there and being willing to spend money. And I think with the showing they just put out there on the national stage, some guys might be more willing to take a huge payday and go play in Toronto now. They're going to be swinging for the fences on Kyle Tucker right now. They locked up Vladdy for a long time. Savage is a good player, young guy. Kirk is going to be around for a while. They got dudes there. They're going to keep getting better as well. So not only do the Yankees have to think about, okay, if we get in the World Series and we play the Dodgers, how to match up head to head? How can we acquire players who can perform well against them and perform well in October? You got to be thinking about the AL East now too, because you're going to have to go through the Red Sox and or the Blue Jays, just like what happened this year, into the playoffs again. You're going to have to beat those guys. And we matched up pretty well against the Red Sox. We did good. Max Fried looked good. There were some close games, though. There was some stress involved. They didn't have Roman Anthony. They had to have some rookies out there that kind of blew their load in one of those games, going for the win, and it burned them in the last game. But the Blue Jays beat the shit out of us. It wasn't close. Some of those games were ugly. Fried looked bad. Rodon looked bad. The offense stopped.
It took a crazy comeback and a miracle home run from Judge that he shouldn't have hit for us to even hang in there. And we were down on 2.
So I'm hoping this, not only with the work stoppage coming in 2027, but part of what you said about 2026 being so important, you need to do what is needed to get things in order to compete, down the line with Toronto and Boston. And if you were to get through them, you need to make sure you match up well against the Dodgers, because the Dodgers aren't going anywhere. They're going to keep adding. They got young players. They got endless money. They got, all the stuff. They're going to be in the World Series again. They're a dynasty if you count 2020 World Series. So the Yankees have to look at Toronto and the Dodgers. They have to look at the Red Sox. And they have to add great, great players. They need to see what young guys are we going to keep, what young guys are we going to move to get better. And they got to do it fast, because, like you said, this is a turning point here, or it could be a turning point going forward. I don't know what the collective bargaining is going to look like after 2027. Maybe Hal thinks there's a chance that contracts can be more favorable or more affordable or less of a luxury tax hit or something going forward from that. Maybe he doesn't want to tie up a bunch of long-term contracts right now before seeing what the collective bargaining looks like after 2027. I don't know. I hope that's not the case, but you need to show the sense of urgency to win right now.
I've heard a really compelling argument from a couple different people who are kind of on the inside, like Jeff Passan and people like that, saying that it's actually going to create a larger gap between the haves and the have-nots. The Yankees are still part of that category of the haves, where smaller market teams are going to be totally unwilling and be categorically out on certain guys. That's going to leave a smaller pool for the high-end talent like a Kyle Tucker, because of the same reasons you just talked about. So, like, the fact that all teams are nervous about signing guys long-term when we'll get cheated on a year potentially with the collective bargaining agreement being up in the air. The Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Dodgers, Mets, they're going to be more, I would say, indifferent, which will make the biggest difference because it's a market, right? So you have to have buyers and sellers, and these players are going to get signed. It's just you have fewer teams. I think the Cubs are a team where they're kind of like on the outside of that group. The Cubs have not shown a willingness to spend on big guys. They're it's almost like we've given up on the idea of Tucker going back to the Cubs. Like, I don't think there's anyone talking about that. And I think there are even big markets like that. There's certain teams that are in that category that you just described, where they're saying we're going to wait and see. Maybe we like our team now, maybe we don't, but we're not going to go and commit to guys long term when we don't know what's going to happen in 2027. I don't think the Yankees are in that category, and it would shock me if they were.
Right.
But I think it's a list of about 6-7 teams max that are really in the mix for these guys, which makes me nervous because a lot of those teams besides us are our biggest rivals, where it's almost like you hope they go to the Dodgers because at least you won't have to worry about them until it's October, right? So.
And if you look at some of the, the starting pitching options that the Blue Jays had, a Max Scherzer and a Shane Bieber, they got that far with the guys. What if they go out and they sign some impact, great starting pitching to go along with Savage and Gossman? Like, I feel like this might have been the worst version of the Blue Jays we're going to see going forward. They're going to keep getting better. They're going to keep trying to spend money. If you look at the revenue to payroll ratios, that that chart that keeps going around on Twitter, the Dodgers were at 73%. The Blue Jays were at 71.5%. outside of the Mets, they went all in with all their damn money because Steve Cohen's crazy. The Dodgers and the Blue Jays were the two teams that were very aggressive with spending a lot of their revenue towards their payroll. The Yankees were 49%. They were under 50%. You had the Mets, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, the Dodgers. Obviously, the Mets, didn't pan out, but the Phillies are always around there. They're aggressive. They like to add star players. The Blue Jays, what I'm trying to say is the Blue Jays and the Dodgers right now are putting their money where their mouth is. The Blue Jays have tried to do what the Dodgers have done in recent years, and they struck out. And again, for a lot of these guys, some of it could be a lot of free agent players don't want to go to Toronto. But with them showing everyone what they just did, the team that's been the closest to beat this Dodgers juggernaut, I guess, since all this craziness has been happening, they just went back to back. And the saying for so long was, how hard it is to go back to back. It's a crapshoot, blah, blah, blah. Well, the Dodgers just showed you it's not that hard. Well, they went toe to toe with the Blue Jays till Game 7, but they went back to back.
They went back to back. It happened, but it was really hard. It was really, really hard.
It was really hard, but they were in so many positions where they were in so many positions where they should have lost that World Series, and they didn't.
It was great
because of the team that they built. They understand what it takes. They have the experience. They have the clutch gene. They have the pitchers who step up. They gave a pile of money to Yamamoto when guys like Josh Reddick thought it was crazy because he wasn't proven.
They had the pitching where they could push the buttons at the right time. When you can bring in like a Clayton Kershaw with the bases loaded and not worry about his legacy, he's just a guy. That's a luxury. And it's a luxury that comes with questions like, what's his role? And I have no problem adding guys to positions of strength for us. To having if we have Ben Rice and Austin Wells that are both capable catchers that can kind of hit, Ben Rice more so, that's great. Hell yeah. Why do we need to shift that around? We have the biggest hole is shortstop. That's the biggest hole for us right now. So,
and I guess
going that approach,
what I'm trying to say is they got back to the World Series in the second year. They faced a team that everyone, kind of said was the best lineup in baseball in the Blue Jays. What they were doing to teams was just crazy. The Mariners had a great rotation, great bullpen. They fucked them up. We threw Max Fried at them. We threw Cam Schlittler at them. We threw Carlos Rodon.
I might not agree with you on the Blue Jays trajectory as much. If you care to hear why, I can talk about it.
Yeah, go for it.
I think, every year, usually it's the winner. You look back to the winner of a World Series. And I think a lot about the remember Johnny Gomes on the 2013 Red Sox? He had this great run. Yeah. He came and it went. Yuli Gurriel on the Astros. There's always these guys. And I think the Blue Jays have 3 of those guys that have no business being as impactful as they were. And they really were just stirring it up for them offensively. And I think they have to be looking proactively right now. If they're not, they should be at not just running it back with all the same dudes, but progressing that group. And if they can add to it, I'm worried. But if they run it back and all they do is hope that guys like you Savage continue their development, he looked great. But if they're not really making meaningful additions, I'm not any more scared of them than I was of the Orioles coming into this year.
Right.
They might do something.
What I think the difference is their hitting approach was a whole different kind of philosophy and lineup construction than what a lot of teams go for these days, especially the Yankees. Their hitting coach, he a lot of these analytics guys don't like to admit that clutch is a thing. They don't like to kind of go away from the launch angle stuff or always trying to hit the ball in the air. So this guy's mentality was a little bit more old school. He talked about keyholing. He talked about going the other way with 2 strikes. He talked about getting in there and, cutting down on some of the swing and miss, cutting down on some of the launch angle kind of stuff when you're 2-2, 0-2, slap a single the other way, situational hitting behind runners, which is a lot of things that the Blue Jays did well. So I think philosophically, I think they found something that they were able to apply some of their players to, approach wise. And you got Ernie Clement hitting 400 in the World Series. You got Bo Bichette going nuts, coming off of an injury. Vlad Guerrero, Addison Barger, holy shit. you got Kirk over there who fouls everything off. He doesn't strike out. He's such a pest. Nathan Lukes that was slapping singles. They even threw was it Miles Straw, the guy who used to be on the Guardians, who can't hit for shit. And they didn't care because the other guys in their order were facilitating, such a tough. Look what they did to Blake Snell. Look what it took Yamamoto heroically going in there to save these games because their lineup was just so relentless against the bullpen, against Glasnow, against Blake Snell, against Fried, Rodon. So, if they can add, and this is without Santander, who was one of their big free agent signings. So if they were able to,
he played against us, right? He played against us, and he was
he didn't do shit, but he didn't do anything.
Well, that was their dude. They allocated significant money to Santander, and he was a big get for them.
And they've showed a willingness to do that, which is why I think they'll continue to. If they add a Kyle Tucker, damn. If they add a Imai or I don't know, one of these players that's floating around. What if they add a couple of these guys and we're like, fuck, they're even better than they were last year? Like, that's where the Yankees have to be more aggressive and they have to be proactive about this. You need to the Blue Jays kick the shit out of you, not only in the playoffs, but during the regular season as well. Get down to why did that happen? That's another thing. Do we trust the Yankees enough upstairs to accurately identify what happened there? Can they fix it? Can they identify the right players to address some of the reasons why they lost?
They're going to look at it very broadly. They're going to look at it like we need to get better as a team, not worry about what everyone else is doing, and just try to make sure that we're adding talent, add a value sustainably. That's what they're going to be doing, and they're pretty good at that. And hopefully they kind of fall into a few guys and offset the fact that a lot of our production comes from swing and miss type bets. You live and you die by it. I don't know. We're not constructed that way. So we don't want to have an identity crisis where we're trying to identify as what we're not. If we're trying to just square peg round hole ourselves into being what just beat us, I don't think that's the right way to go about it. But certainly you do try to maybe tip the scales back if it's a spectrum. You don't want to be all or nothing all the time. But you don't want to get away from what does work. We won the same number of games as the Blue Jays last year. It's a pretty large sample size, 162 games. They had the same number of wins. Matchup-wise, it didn't go our way, right? Who knows why? There have been years where we dominated them.
That's a good point. That's a great point because when you look at playoff series, obviously you can construct a roster to do certain things over 162, but matchups become very important once you get into a short series. You're going to see the same relievers multiple times. You're going to see a starting pitcher multiple times. Your pitchers are going to see the lineup multiple times. You're going to get very familiar with these guys. So it's a chess match. When this guy's up, I know his weakness is this guy. I can go to this guy and bring him in and get him out. So it's like, how can you win 95 games and win the division while also matching up very, very well against teams in a very short playoff series where matchups are very, very important? So, how many times did the Dodgers bring in Yamamoto to save those games? They identified a player that was great head-to-head in that matchup, and they kept putting him out there, even if his arm fell off. So how can we identify
Maybe we need
guys?
To find our own version of that. Maybe he's currently being posted.
This Imai guy said, you know what? I don't have time to sit back and be, celebrating other guys. I'm focusing on myself and blah, blah. So I think you kind of tapped into that on Twitter, and I quoted it. Said, I love this kind of shit. Bring it over. But
you did the Dr. Evil. Dr. Evil.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I love that mentality. That's awesome.
I read the translation and I was like, I hope they're not fucking with us because I have I clicked on the link and it's this Japanese website. I'm like, I can't read this. So I'm basing it off of the
Why not?
I don't know. What's wrong with me? But I don't know. But I read the translation and I was like, this better be accurate because I try not to get too high or too low in the offseason. But I was like, if we don't, I wanted Yamamoto so bad. And it hurt me when we didn't get him. And I don't want to have the same thing happen twice.
Oh, it's gut wrenching.
I'm right back where I was,
That's why I'm going into this Imai thing very tentatively. My hopes aren't up. I don't want to start watching all the Japanese tape and watching all his pitch shapes and all this shit because I don't want to get kicked in the dick again, just like I did again with Yamamoto. So, it's one of those things where we all have PTSD a little bit, especially with the Japanese market. All these Roki and Otani and all these guys are going to the Dodgers. So, and you can't fault people for feeling that way because you just don't want to. You had the iconic picture of Cashman in Japan sitting in the stands, like kind of saluting Yamamoto and stuff like that. We're like, it's in the cards, bro. It's so locked in. Cashman's going to go all out. And then they get outbid. So it's like
he did everything he could, right?
Pay him 325, offer 350. I mean, if
that's
you identify
true.
a guy,
true. I forgot that detail was that he didn't want to go above Cole's. Yeah, I forgot.
350 kind of would have been my ceiling there. There are some concerns with a guy being small in stature, not familiar with what he can do in the major leagues, and you can't look into the future and see him doing what he just did against the Blue Jays.
In hindsight,
you can't predict that stuff.
You give him 550.
But if you would have known now, back then, what you know now, you would have. There was no budget because that's the guy you really want.
You go Steve Cohen on them.
Oh, you give him $1 billion. You just give him Juan Soto money. But if you see a guy from Japan, all you can do is watch tape. Kind of analyze pitch shapes and his moxie and what he's made of and this kind of stuff. And if you think that's a guy who it can translate to the big league level, and if you're going to put a sizable amount of money out there, what's the $5 to $10 million difference going to be between you and some other team? You're going to look back and be like, fuck, we should have given them 10 extra. So I hope they're going to be very aggressive with this Imai guy. And we could be looking back on this and thinking that we're idiots. He could be Kayagawa for all we know, and we look like dummies.
No.
But if they truly believe this is a guy they want to go hard at, and he can be similar to a Yamamoto type, and you can get him into your building, you can get him with your track man set up and Matt Blake and turn him into some crazy pitcher. If that's something you identify with this guy, go all in, find a way to add him, because then you can, like we talked about earlier, you can go into your reserves, all the pitching depth you have, and you can move those guys to fill the lineup up, find guys that you like to hit in playoffs, whatever. Because then you'll have a Schlittler, Garrett Cole, Fried, Rodon, Imai. You got 5 studs right there, and that's not going to change for the next several years at least until Garrett Cole's gone. So
yeah,
we keep going back to how important this offseason is, how important 2026 is. They can take a huge step forward in competing with some of the teams we watched do great things last year, or they can remain stagnant and go into a very, uncertain time with this work stoppage. And then beyond that, who the hell knows what's going to happen? Aaron Judge will be 35, 36, and then you're looking at, a lot of regret. But it's very interesting. In terms of free agents, I wanted to get into a couple more guys. What do you think about paying relievers? Obviously, with Tanner Scott, that looked horrible what the Dodgers gave him and how he turned out. There's a little bit of a history recently of not paying relievers because it never ends well. But you do have an Edwin Diaz out there, and you have a Robert Suarez out there. You throw 100, used to big markets, pitched in the playoffs. What do you think about signing one or both of those guys? And would you prioritize that over maybe some of the positional player kind of ads?
It's a really tricky thing, right? I mean, I've generally always been against going out there and I go back to the Chapman contract. By the way, congrats to the kid for winning reliever of the year with the Red Sox. Really happy for him. Couldn't happen to a better guy. But when we signed him for was it $20 million, $20 million a year for a closer with mixed results? That tends to be like the norm when you sign these big time relievers long term or with the big average annual value. So I mean, don't get me wrong. If we signed Edwin Diaz, I would talk myself into it. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Generally against those kind of moves. Would have been totally fine with Tanner Scott last year. Would have been wrong, right? The ideal way, and I know the Yankees agree, the ideal way is to have these guys that are almost like the path that you want these guys to be on is like reclamation, arm talent projects in the minor leagues where they're not even really thinking of themselves as starters anymore. And then they hit a developmental spike and they're just either throwing 3 miles an hour harder because of an adjustment or they add a pitch and then boom, you get them up to the show and they're making it happen. And then you develop them as relievers, but it's really difficult because a lot of the best pitchers don't want to develop as relievers until they hit a new chapter. And they have to so a Clark Schmidt, right?
Yeah.
His
Michael King a little bit.
Him and his agent, Right. Ask Michael King. He'd be a richer man if the Yankees weren't convinced of his value as a reliever. But dude, it's just like hard to get the high end guys without paying them. But there's all that risk of when you do. So it's like you're dancing with the devil a little bit. It's tough. And I can't sit here and say, well, the plan should be just to develop these guys and have them come up from the minor leagues and have them be cheap and really, really good and disposable. Like it. So hopefully it breaks our way, right? It's almost like hopefully it breaks our way. And I'm totally fine with, like, if we're in first place in July, whoever's pitching the best on a bad team, get him in our bullpen. You know, kind of like a Bednar thing. Just add to it.
Bednar move was great. That was a great move. And you know, sometimes I think the Yankees kind of fall into that too much, where they think, oh, we can just go grab a guy like a Mark Leiter Jr. or something, or an Efros, or you know, some of these guys, and throw them out there, or Tommy Canley, and then they're like, oh, we're good, we're fine, our bullpen's good enough.
I don't want any more relievers after the 7th inning throwing less than 95.
Me neither. Like a Luke Weaver trying to work on, you know, not tipping his pitches, can't be out there during playoff games. Like,
I feel bad for him because he's a free agent and he really tanked his value. Yeah. But boy, did he let us down. Big time. And you know what? It was cool while it was cool, but I'm over it. Move on. Go find somebody else. You know, there's guys out there that they can identify. You know, their scouting and their whole organizational operation, they can see or hear about guys who might be available depending on, you know, what the cost will be, more than us. So obviously they have way more, you know, inside knowledge of. It's one area where they've really done a great job. Like universally accept, like their pitching development and identifying talent outside of the organization is like elite, right? So
and
why would they want to go? Sorry, one more. So why would they want to go out and pay a guy? It's why we don't get a Tanner Scott. Why we don't get a why they moved away from a Chapman kind of guy.
I mean, one of the moves they made, you know, back in the day that worked out well was Miller, you know, the hard throwing lefty. When they had a Miller with a Chapman and a Betances kind of group coming in throwing $1 billion with nasty stuff, and you're like, damn, once the 7th inning gets here, the game's over. So I don't know how they go about building that again. I think Bednar is a great step forward as a 9th inning guy. I think he proved that he can do the job there. But do you take the gamble and you pay a Diaz? Do you know give? I'm guessing not Harper. He just mentioned him right here. Robert. Here you go. Suarez.
Yeah.
Can you hand him a little bit of money and he ends up being really good? Is he gonna struggle like we saw in spurts last season? He throws hard. He has a good changeup. But, you know, the pitching is very weird with the Yankees because they get a guy in there, they put him in their lab, and then they figure out what pitchers are good, what they're not, and they want to change them. We heard a little bit of that with some other pitchers from over the years. Monty wasn't a fan of it. A little bit of that happened with Chapman, I think. He left and he threw 104 again. I'm like, okay, why wasn't he doing that here? They hadn't thrown more splitters and more sliders. I'm like, bro, throw hard. Do your thing. You know, Sonny Gray back in the day wasn't great here. Then he leaves and he's better. So that could be some of a New York thing. But we've heard over the years, the Yankees get a pitcher. They put him in the lab. They tell him what sucks, what's good, what to stay away from, what to use more. And they kind of change these guys. If a guy throws hard, he throws hard. And there's really nothing to change about it. If you get a hard throwing heater guy in there, just blowing gas.
And you can't tell a guy to the thing. I think we watched a lot of relievers when they were underperforming last year. For us, Devin Williams comes to mind. It was a matter of control and command, right? More command than control. We're like, if they're putting guys on and they're missing their spots and hitting and throwing it in the go zone for hitters, and that's something that all the coaching in the world can't just make a guy have the talent to consistently spot his pitches. And so
you got it and you don't.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thing. I think we should let Devin Williams go.
I agree.
Let him move on and find greener pastures. Go be excellent for another team.
Yeah.
But wish him well. But we need guys that are we need more dogs out there. I hate to be very anti-analytical here, but it's like we need dogs, and hopefully they can just get lucky with a few guys because they're not going to, nor should they, think, let's go find dogs. They're going to use their process and find guys that they think they can get at a certain value when the opportunity arises. I just hope the guys we get, or the guys that we bring up are going to have that mentality. And so, there's no one there that's like quality control monitoring that. So it's a little bit like, we got lucky with the core four. We can get lucky with a couple guys in the bullpen too, right? I don't know.
Yep, 100%. And I think, what you just said makes it that much harder to try and acquire relief pitching, because you pay guys big money and they don't pan out well, the contract doesn't age well, then you look stupid. Do you stick to the French guys that you think you can kind of rehab, like a Luke Weaver or a Clay Holmes? Do you take on the reclamation projects and stay cheap in the bullpen, and if they don't work, you just discard them? That's a decision they're going to have to make. All the rumors say that Diaz wants top dollar right now. I don't think the Yankees will pay that for a reliever, especially because they
wants $22 million a year.
Robert Suarez might be more realistic there, but then again, I don't know what he's going to ask for.
You mean Ranger Suarez?
No. Did I say it right? The relief pitcher from the Padres, big tall guy, closer, throws like 100.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, he's out there. He's floating around out there too. I think Ranger Suarez is a starter from the Phillies, but I think he's a free agent as well, isn't he?
Yeah, they're both free agents. Yeah,
he's also a free agent, he's a pretty underrated guy too. But let's get into some trades real quick. So we've had people in the last couple of days bringing up a Byron Buxton trade and wanting to kind of take on that whole ordeal over seeing what Spencer Jones is. How do you feel about maybe seeing what Spencer Jones is, let him play every day, or
trading Jones for Buxton?
Not straight up, but maybe trading Jones in another deal and acquiring Buxton separately to play center field or play left field or whatever.
Because I saw someone do one of those trade value things, just straight up one for one.
It shouldn't be straight up, because
I was like, what?
Jones, Buxton's very injury prone. We get that, and Jones has high upside. He's very athletic. He plays center field, whatever. You can't do it straight up. But hypothetically, if Jones were to be moved somewhere else and they brought in Buxton, would you rather wait and see what Jones can be, or would you rather take on a potential injury risk with Buxton in a quote unquote win now situation for his bat?
Would he play center field?
I think Buxton would probably play corner out. I don't think he'd play center. His body can't take playing center field every day anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he's had 3 seasons of the last 10 with 5 WAR, and the rest of the time he's been like good when healthy, but often not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
He's, what is he, 31 years old, 32 years old? Not ancient, but you're asking him to play left field at Yankee Stadium, probably.
I guess the question becomes, what is Spencer Jones going to be? What do you expect him to be?
We don't know. And you can't rely on, look, I mean, everything we've said on this show would inform the answer that we should take any scenario of Buxton over any scenario of Jones. But I think Jones is the plan for post CBA. Jones is hopefully, if the plan holds true, is going to be a star, and they owe it to themselves to develop him appropriately, because he has high-end talent, and it may not work out, but you have to have a few of those irons in the fire, and you can't just, the hypothetical of what if he doesn't, you'll feel dumb. Okay, all right, fine, but if you do that every single time and you're trading for guys like Buxton and not trading Michael King for a Juan Soto kind of thing, which I'm totally okay with. You're acquiring a Juan Soto in a year where you may win it all. Like, yeah, you do that. I don't think Buxton moves the needle enough. As great a player as he is very talented when he's healthy as he is. I just think Jones it's a close enough call where I don't want to totally dismiss it, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't give up the potential of 5 cheap years of a bona fide stud for 2 years of a often injured stud. So
I agree 100%. I think Spencer Jones is a day one fantastic center fielder that you could pencil in and expect very athletic, good defense from. Obviously, everyone falls in love with power. That's the big draw with him. He's the same height as Aaron Judge. He's left-handed in Yankee Stadium. He's going to hit 95 home runs per year. Right. I think the power is real. I think he hits lefties well, lefty, which is great. He is a launch guy. He's a launch angle guy. So there's going to be a lot of ugly strikeouts in there. Everyone wants to see the strikeout percentage go below 30%, which I think will be very, very ugly in year one, potentially year two. He's going to have a steep learning curve offensively, and there's going to be a lot of ugly strikeouts. But then again, he's going to face another team's fourth and fifth starter or some shit reliever somewhere, and he's going to hit a 480-foot home run and bring you all the way back into the whole project. So there's going to need to be patience with him. So the question becomes, can you be patient with Spencer Jones offensively in a have to win now to take advantage of Aaron Judge's prime kind of situation? I think if you were going to do that, if you're going to move Spencer Jones, it needs to be for more than a often injured Byron Buxton type. And then the question becomes, okay, who out there would you move Spencer Jones for? I don't know. Depends on the names.
Paul Skeens, straight up.
That would be,
one for one.
Up. It would take our top 10 prospects, including Spencer Jones, to get Paul
Ben
Skeens,
Rice, Dominguez. I don't think it happens. Yeah.
It would,
Just kidding around.
It'd be a stretch, but I would rather watch Spencer Jones develop and become something, hopefully, rather than watch Byron Buxton hit the IL 4 times per year.
Agreed.
So there's some other guys being floated around. Are the Padres going to be sold? Is Tatis available? Is Machado available? What are you willing to pay for them? I don't buy into that very much. I just think it's a lot of fancy baseball talk on Twitter.
Yeah. The Red Sox fans are really convinced they're going to get Tatis or Machado.
They have prospects, to offer to get it done. So if there was going to be a team to do it, I could see that. I wouldn't rule it out.
Should I be scared, or am I right to kind of just think it's funny? Like I've been just laughing at that stuff.
I think a lot of it is just, speculation, because the Padres they're in a financial, issue, and they need to sell the team, whatever. So everyone's daydreaming about who might be available to shed money. But until there's some real talk about the Padres are making these guys available, I think it's all just, fantasy talk. But, it's a topic right now. There's Brendan Donovan. We talked about him already. Skubal. I don't think that's going to happen this offseason, maybe. What do you think? Obviously, the Tigers aren't going to pay him. The Tigers aren't going to pay him what he wants.
I think if the Tigers sputter this year, he's going to get traded at the deadline.
Deadline?
I do think if the Tigers are out of it, 10 games, which I'm not predicting, but if that's the case, I think that the reports of what they offered him and not even what his camp thinks he's worth, but what he is worth.
Sad.
It's about, it's bigger than what Judge got offered before his 2022 season.
It's the team that gets thrown around a lot, though. The team name that gets thrown around a lot for Skubal, though, is the Mets.
Mets, and then a little bit the Red Sox, and then the Yankees are always in the mix. But yeah, the Mets would make a lot of sense. And the Mets, I heard some funny things. Our buddy Keith on the fan, someone was saying that I don't know the Mets prospect's name, but he was like, "Oh, we can't give up on this guy. He has 7 career starts."
It's Tong or McLean.
Who was it?
It's like McLean or Tong, one of those guys.
Yeah, 8 career starts. And it's like, oh, I don't want to, caller. I don't want to give him up for Skubal. It's like, dude, do you know? Do you watch no other baseball besides the Mets? Do you have any awareness of how good Tariq Skubal is?
And the funny part is the Mets' biggest problem is starting pitching. So why wouldn't you add the best starting pitcher in the world with an owner who will be willing to pay him what he wants and keep him?
That's what they lack. It's what they lack. Yeah. I mean, and the Mets could do it knowing they would, unless things went sideways, they could retain him, right? So, the Mets are losing money, and it doesn't even bother them. So they're the ultimate wild card in terms of free agents. But it would be cool. It would be interesting to see them make a move for a Skubal, because I really do think that would be that. I mean, I don't hate the Mets like most Yankee fans do. So I'm just speaking kind of from the hip, but also pretty objectively here. I think that would make them a really formidable team in ways that even going into last year, where they were all convinced they were going to be great, they had so many holes. They were relying on Clay Holmes as their number 2 starter. They had real problems.
Montas.
Yeah, and it was well, maybe they could be good, but Skubal, he's gonna absolutely shove. And so if they could and don't, that's crazy. I think if he's on offer, the Mets will be, well, it makes a lot of sense. It's a question of what the Tigers believe that, they can still have a chance of winning without him. So are they going to be going for Mets like current talent, or are they going to be, I think the Mets and the Tigers are better served waiting and seeing on that, because if by July the Tigers don't feel like they're serious contenders, they'd be dumb not to trade him. Probably still get great value back. Whereas the Mets would probably have to give up major league level like ready talent now for the Tigers to justify it. Where the Mets are just trying to win now. They're both in win now mode. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the Tigers to wait and see if the market heats up and see if their team's up to snuff this year to see if it makes sense. Or
it might get to a point where the Tigers are going to realize there's no way to come to terms on an agreement here. He's going to become a free agent. Either we get something for him back now and move him, or he walks and we get nothing.
Yeah.
How soon do they come to that realization? And does them competing even matter at that point?
I don't know, man. They just started winning again. They were kind of bad for a while. They just started winning again. Like, it feels a little bit like Juan Soto and the Nationals, where this is as good as we can do. Are you grateful? Yep. And they're just like, nope. Not at all. Are you loyal?
Ohtani and the Angels. Remember that?
Yeah.
Ohtani's last year on the Angels. He's not going to resign. Do you move him and get something back in return, or do you let him walk and get nothing? They let him walk and got nothing. And
they didn't just let him walk. They added. They made acquisitions.
They didn't even match. They didn't even try to match the Dodgers' offer. That's what was crazy. Ohtani gave them a chance to match, and they said no. So he walked.
Wow. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Another name that's floating around right now, Ketel Marte. Not a good defender, but controllable, postseason hitter, plays a, middle infield position where Jazz is currently right now. Does Jazz get moved? What do you value Ketel Marte as? You got him under control until 2031.
I think Ketel Marte is the best second baseman in baseball. Now
offensively?
Mookie's kind of fallen off. Yeah, offensively. Does he have any versatility? Can he play third base or?
I don't. He might be able to play third, but the reputation he has is bad defender, good offensive player.
Yeah, he's like Suarez, but way better. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I think offensively he's really good. I think he'd be a great fit into our lineup because he's a versatile offensive player. He's not just a launch angle home run guy. He can hit gap to gap. He can, be tough with two strikes. He can hit home runs. He can switch hit. So that's awesome. Can he switch hit? He's a switch hitter, right? I'm almost positive. I'm almost positive he's a switch hitter.
Yeah, he's a switch hitter. Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, switch hitter.
So switch hitter, he's going to hit in the playoffs, which is great. I think he's a fantastic fit on the Yankees. I just don't know what the cost is going to be. Obviously, the Diamondbacks have a lot of needs right now. We got some guys popping.
The issue is
What's up, Josh? What's up, Blake?
The issue is his age and the contract.
Ketel Marte, Blake. Ketel Marte. So he's. Let's see. I just have the contract pulled up right now, and he just sign or something like that. Let's see. So he is going to be 30. 2026 is his age 32 season.
Yep.
I think he's still in his prime. I think he'll be a good hitter probably for 5 years at least. Defense is going to be a big problem. So, can you live with this bad defense for the offense? That's the trade-off we've done with Gleyber Torres in the past. It's a trade-off we've done before with other guys. What would it take to get him, though? Because it's going to be – the D-backs came out and said it's going to be expensive. They're going to ask for a lot. Is there a Spencer Jones involved there? Is there a ERC? Is there a LaGrange? Is there – Kenneth Schlittler's not going. I'm sorry. I'm not trading him for anything other than
I can see a package of like Luis Gil plus some like AA guys that are in the top 20.
Is there a Ben Rice thrown out there?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think the Yankees do that. I think the Yankees would value a Ben Rice or Dominguez, controllable, shown to be legitimately major league ready. versus a 32-year-old who's under contract for 4 more years.
So, if there was like you said, a Luis Hill with a Dominguez and maybe a LaGrange deal thrown around, done tomorrow.
I'd like to think Luis Hill and like Roderick Arias would get it done or something like that. Kind of give the Diamondbacks a little bit of like major league talent with also a little bit of developmental talent. I like to think that would get it done, but I'm no expert when it comes to trade value right now.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I don't like read Baseball America, so
me neither. Bobby Malone does. If there's a guy to ask for that is the trade.
You guys don't already follow Bobby Malone. Bobby Malone he's doing God's work, and he's not very flashy. Doesn't give a shit how many likes he gets. He just
for the love of the game.
He's just feeding us really useful nuggets constantly. Love Bobby.
I think
he never replies to me, but if he's listening, Bobby, you're the man.
Let me talk to my guy Bob over here. I need him to start answering to my friend Conor McGuire. Conor McGregor.
I think he would answer Conor McGregor. No, it's funny because I think I have more followers than him, but it's like he just like suns me all the time. He's like, yeah.
It's funny. I was just talking about Conor McGregor earlier. This is why he was on top of mind. But Bobby, he responds to me a lot. I'm gonna have to have a chat with him. All right, we're gonna have to make some things going here. Isaac says Bobby and Earl are the best Yankee accounts. Oh, he said to me, say thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Oh,
I
agree.
Bobby and Earl going at each other is some of the
hell yeah, thanks,
shit.
Isaac. I appreciate that. He's like, oh shit, they're responding. No,
thank you,
no,
man.
I agree.
We appreciate you.
It's funny because like I obviously know Johnny. I've known him for a couple of years now, but like there was a time where I was on Twitter and I would have said the exact same thing. I knew of Johnny for years before I ever met him, and I would have said early on, like OG Yankees Twitter, like back in 2017, 2018, 2019, Earl, Bobby, and Johnny, and then I saw Frankie and M. They've been doing it for like the OGs. Yeah.
And JC.
Yeah, man. It's cool because like
thank you, my guy Eddie. I appreciate you as always. I'll see you in San Fran.
Yeah.
Connor's going to be in San Fran too, so we're all going to see each other.
Eddie, what's up, dude? We didn't get to all your questions earlier, but I see you in there, man. Good to see you, buddy. Anyway, we'll stop talking about inside Twitter and we'll get back to actual baseball. But yeah,
no, but Ketel Marte, I'd put together a nice package for. Speaking of packages, that's kind of whatever. I don't know if I would include Ben Rice in that. I think Ben Rice's underlying numbers show that he is a dynamic offensive player, kind of waiting to burst. If those numbers kind of reverse, he was very unlucky last year. If Ben Rice's numbers kind of reverse to a more lucky kind of situation, he is going to put up some crazy numbers. So, do you go with the proven guy in Ketel Marte, or do you hope that Ben Rice blossoms into Tino Martinez? I don't fucking know. But I think
it's getting late in the show. Tino, who gives a shit?
Well, what can you honestly project Ben Rice as?
I think Ben Rice, dude. I don't know if he's like on if he's on a trajectory up, that's amazing. Because like this past year, like mid-8s OPS, hard contact rate, still getting unlucky, famously unlucky. You wonder where that comes from.
All the red bars. What is that? Baseball Savant page.
Yeah.
All of his red bars were like Juan Soto
95th percentile for like hard hit rate.
Fuck?
Yeah, and he doesn't have a super high K rate. It's not like the best in the world, but what do you want? You want a guy that hits the ball consistently and hits the ball hard and makes contact pretty regularly. And he's got nice his swing is interesting because he's a long-limbed guy, right? He's not like a short, compact Mike Trout type dude, but he kind of does things to shorten his swing and be more direct to the ball.
Quick hands. Oh, absolutely.
Right. And still be direct to it, but still cover the outside corner. And I think that's the secret to what he's doing. And I think I think he's been around long enough where we've got a good enough sample size where we can say he is a legitimate major league offensive talent. And if he gets better, then that's amazing. That's great. If he stays the same, that's fine too.
I would be, I really
what's his? Sorry, you asked a question. I'm trying to be better about actually answering your questions. What's his ceiling? Was your question, or what's how do I project him? Oh boy,
I thought Travis Hafner in his prime. I don't know,
comp. I like Tino. I like Tino as the comp because Tino was a very steady, plus power first baseman with really good defense. Ben Rice is he's okay defensively.
He needs to get better there.
Yeah, he needs to get better. Paul Goldschmidt kind of made him look bad at times because Goldschmidt was really nice last year defensively.
Yeah, I would consider trading Ben Rice. I would have the thought if it were for like a Ketel Marte guy, controllable, great offensive player, hits in the playoffs.
Okay.
I would start thinking about
now. That's a very win now to do that.
It is. It is. You're going to get a 3 to 5 year window of Ketel Marte hitting very well, and that's kind of the Aaron Judge window, isn't it? 3 to 5 years.
I think you get 2 years of Marte hitting well, and then you get a couple of years of him potentially being as worse than DJ LeMahieu. You know?
Oh, I wouldn't go
being a bit of an albatross defensively. Where do you put him? I worry about guys that are entering their mid-30s that are. You can't just hide them in a corner outfield spot, you know?
Right. He can.
So I do worry about that.
Let me see. He gets a very bad reputation of being a very bad defender. But let me pull that up. I want to see how bad. I want to know how bad.
You do that.
Well,
I'll talk to
Look at this, though. Look at this, though. His weighted runs created plus in 2025, 145.
Yeah, dude, he's great.
That is elite.
You heard me tell you that he's the best second baseman in baseball.
Offensively.
Yeah,
right. All right, let me tap into this defense. Let me tap into it. Let me see.
Overall,
I'm getting there.
Who's better?
I'm getting there.
Who's better defensively?
Second base.
I mean, who's better overall?
Second base. He had 8 outs above average this year, and 1 defensive run save. He's not that bad. Where did the reputation come from?
Let me
make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing here.
I barely ever care about second base defense. It's very easy to play, and I love having Pop. I love Pop at second base. I love it. Gleyber Torres was bad at second base, but that's
his fielding run value was 8 this year at second base. Sign me the fuck up, man. 3 to 5 year window of slightly above average defense.
I'm saying 5, but in
fantastic.
He'll be 38.
No, he's 31 right now. He'll be 36.
Oh, really? I thought he was 33. Yeah. Okay, so he'll be 36. Okay, still, it's still like mid 30s. I don't know.
I'll take.
I'm saying that's a it's a very uncharacteristic Yankee move because you're acquiring a guy where you're going to be it's going to be painful towards the end, but you're doing it right now. And if you add in trading a guy like either a Dominguez or a Ben Rice or a Luis Gil, I'm cool with Luis Gil. I think you trade from position of strength. I love Luis Gil. I think he's going to be a real X factor potentially for us next year, but that I could definitely stomach. I think Ben Rice, I just don't see them doing it. I'm not sure if I would do it, but I just don't see it happening.
Here's something we always forget in these conversations that just popped into my head. Yeah. This is the New York fucking Yankees, all right? If Ben Rice goes somewhere else and you get a great player in exchange and Ben Rice ends up being great, cool story, bro. You have tons and tons of money to tap into to
first base,
buy free agents down the line. There's going to be tons of good players coming on the market over the years. You can buy them. You are not the Pirates. You don't have to rely on all of your prospects hitting.
Well, who's our starting first baseman next year in this scenario?
Pete Alonso, motherfucker.
So you want them to trade their controllable talent and sign a first baseman right-handed long-term for big money and then bring in a second baseman and have for big money in his 30s.
That's a trade. That's a trade.
Right? Okay.
So the trade would be for Ketel. The money would go to Pete.
He's still making real money. And then Jazz is playing third base, or do you trade Jazz too?
You got it. You're going to have to pay Jazz in a year anyways, and he's going to probably ask for more than Ketel.
I see Bellinger for first base. Yeah, I mean, you end up signing I don't know. That's a lot of dominoes.
This is what makes the offseason fun.
But Johnny, there's a lot of dominoes that you're like.
We're playing MLB The Show here.
You're knocking them over yourself, and then there's a corresponding move that has to happen. But these deals are hard to get done. Individually, they're hard to get done. You do one that now necessitates other moves, and the next one's even harder. It's like this is like a living, breathing thing that we're trying to navigate. And you're like, I got it all figured out.
No, you can very easily trade from a position of strength for Ketel Marte and then sign Pete Alonso. That's very, very doable.
Well, what if you don't get Pete Alonso? What if Cohen comes over the top and offers him money that's obscene?
You can do both at the same time.
No, but what if you get out?
You can work on both.
we're not on the top of the mountain anymore, man.
I'd give him a 5-year deal. What's the AAV for Pete Alonso?
30.
Done. I don't want to give him 7 years.
30. Maybe I'm wrong. Chat, anyone want to weigh in? Alonso,
I don't know.
Last year you would not have gotten 30, but he showed out this year.
He did. And he hits in the goddamn playoffs. Can you imagine Cattell and Pete Alonso?
He'd be
Aaron
so
Judge.
great for us in the home run derby too. Just imagine.
Oh God, not all the cringe bullshit he comes with.
I don't like
Pete without
Alonso.
that.
I don't like him. I think he's annoying. I hate him, but he would be a great fit for us right now. We are lefty. We are left-handed heavy. I would not be mad at us doing that. And you're right. If we signed Alonso and we're sitting here right now and we have Alonso, fuck yeah, trade Ben Rice for Tel Marte. Hell yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But the way you framed it, I'm like, I don't know, dude. Can we get Alonso? I have no idea.
It's very possible. I just don't want to give.
Excited about it. I agree.
I just don't want to give him 7. If it's a deal, if it's a yes or no deal breaker to give him 7 years, I'm not giving him 7 years. So you have to pivot from there. If you can get away with 5 years and raise the AAV for Pete Alonso, I'm doing it. I'm fucking doing it. He's going to hit in October and he's going to hit 50 home runs.
Is he 30?
I think so. Bernard is also a mental case. He is a mental case, but he has a 1,000 OPS in the playoffs. Maybe being a mental case is why he doesn't feel the pressure in those moments. Sign me up for more mental case because all we got is guys that fall flat in their fucking face in October. It's irritating to watch. How many times did we talk this year about the Yankees have the best offensive baseball and they went into the playoffs and fell flat in their fucking faces? Like, whatever their 162 game plan.
I'm pretty sure I said to you on this very show that I wasn't worried about the Blue Jays.
I think we both said that, which is a
what
very
do we
bad
know?
thing.
We don't know shit. We're just having fun here.
I said I respect their offense, but their starting pitching gave me cause to pause, which everyone else fucking said too, because it's Shane Bieber, 800-year-old Scherzer, a rookie. What?
Bernard is 6 chats in a row.
Bernard hates
sitting on Pete Alonso.
Bernard hates the Mets with a burning fire. So his teammates hate him. I'm sure his teammates will be very excited when he hits a home run as a Yankee in October, because I sure as fuck will be. I don't know. I feel like the Yankees have enough of Aaron Judge is the leader type of thing to where a goofy Pete Alonso won't be a big deal. But
I agree. I totally agree with that take, man. That's one of the things we take for granted. Like, I remember when Giants fans would shit on Eli Manning and say we have to move on when he was always healthy and always playing pretty well. Having a leader in baseball, a coach on the field who is a good player, you take it for granted, man. When you don't have that.
It's a big deal.
When you don't have that, you do worry about the gravity of a player like the freaking polar bear coming in and all of a sudden he's your identity. I don't want our identity to be Pete Alonso. But if he wants to come in, don't get me wrong, I don't want that.
He needs to be he needs to be a fringe personality in the clubhouse. He should not be front center. Bernard says, I'd sign Diaz in a heartbeat. I'd love that, Met. See, now we're getting somewhere. We're making some progress here. His stuff is nasty. I know he's got a little bit of blow up in him. He's blown some saves before, I
got a fun question related to Diaz. Would we just have the same walkout music for him? Would we change that up?
If he wants it, you give it to him.
That would be kind of cringe for me to be like the Yankees.
It's a very Metsy thing.
It's such a Mets like fixture.
Signature. Yeah.
Right?
Bernard says no. Do not give him that music.
I think you change it up. I think you cannot take this big thing the Mets would get so hard for.
But was it a Mets thing or was that his chosen walkout music?
It's his thing. But it became a Mets thing.
If you're paying the guy that much money and he asks for
no, you can't say no.
You want him to be happy and comfortable, right?
You can't say no. But
I would not. We are not giving you your trumpet song, buddy. No. That's a Met thing. Like, if that's what the guy wants, you hand him $120 million and give the guy this damn song. But if
it would be like not giving Juan Soto her suite, right?
Mama Soto. Do not get Bernard started on Mama Soto. Do not do it.
Oh, did I say Juan Soto her suite? Yeah. Not giving Juan Soto's mom her suite.
Bernard hates Juan Soto with a burning fire, and Mama is not off limits in those conversations. The dresses, the clothing allowance.
Dresses, yeah. This ball was
can
given to me by Juan
this
Soto as a
conversation
gift.
can get very sideways.
This was a personal gift given to me by Juan Soto.
He hit it at you or what?
He threw it to me.
Oh, he said, "Hey, that's
during the
Connor
World
McGuire. I'm going to
Series.
throw him this goddamn
During the
ball."
World Series, and I was like, I love Juan Soto. I hope he stays a Yankee forever.
Oh, yeah, that really grinds my gears. But here's something that's gonna play right into the discussion we're having right now. So we had a little bit of conflict of statements from the organization and some of the rumors going out. So Joel Sherman comes out and says Hal Steinbrenner wants to be at $300 million or less. He's kind of trying to reset the payroll or whatever.
Right.
Brian Cashman comes out yesterday and says, I've never been given a hard number for the payroll. I've never been told here's our maximum. And, things are, free and easy. It's a free flowing situation. There's no maximum. So what are we believing here? Does Hal want to sit at $300 million? Is he putting a self-imposed cap on what they can do? Or is Brian Cashman right and there is no self-imposed cap? I don't know.
I think that Brian Cashman is trying to signal to agents and other teams that they are not going to be shying away from going beyond that. And I think
that's a good point.
I think that you wouldn't see that unless they were willing to do it. I don't think that they're planning to do it, because why would they plan? Why they don't plan like we're going to spend. We're going to spend whether we get good players or not. But I think it goes back to this idea that they have a history of kind of letting the market come to them while signaling that they are ready to talk, but not targeting people that often. They went out and they really targeted Cole. They targeted Sabathia. There's certain guys, obviously Soto, they'll out there. We want him. But most of the time, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and they're picking from a field of guys, and they don't want to show their hand so as to increase the total value of the contract unnecessarily.
What do you think the conversations are in the building right now?
I think they are like, we need to get better offensively, but like in specific ways. But like they're probably trying to figure out what that looks like, and they probably want to do it in a way where it's not like going to break them in 3 years financially. But they have not. That does not mean that they're not going to go sign a Tucker or a Bellinger. And I do think that they feel like they need to add to their pitching.
Bichette
overall, overall,
I would be very excited if we got Bichette.
Dude, I tweeted like 2 weeks ago. I was like, I'm coming around on the idea, and I'm now fully like, yeah, I want him playing third base for us, dude.
I could see it. I could see him figuring it out.
I want that. I want him playing third and playing second.
We all get a bad reputation as Yankee fans because we talk about wanting to be better at fundamentals, and then we talk about putting guys in positions they're unfamiliar with. So there is a little bit of a yin and yang there. But this is what is so irritating for us right now that we're trying to figure out. How do you acquire bats that hit in the playoffs who are subpar defensively? Where do you put them? How much bad defense can you live with in exchange for the better offense? Yeah. That's the conversation you're having with Ketel Marte. That's the conversation you're having about Bo Bichette. That's the conversation you're having about Pete Alonso. How much offense are you going to get out of this player, and is it going to outweigh how bad they're going to be defensively? I thought that ratio was off with Gleyber Torres. I thought towards the end his defense was worse than the upside he was giving us offensively.
Well, Bichette can't play shortstop, but can he play good third base?
Second is what's going on around right now. Right. And obviously, you'd have to move Jazz at that point.
Well, we haven't seen him play third, so I guess if the answer is no, that's different. But like, could he? He played a decent short when he was younger, like decent. Mm-hmm. Now he's bad.
This is kind of an AO moment, but his lower half, he's built to play third base. His body is a third baseman body. If we're ever being honest here, he's got the thick legs, he's got the thick lower half. This is a very sus kind of statement. Yeah. But Ben Rice it's the same thing we were talking about earlier with Ben Rice, his body shape. He's got the catcher lower half, AO. But Bichette, he's not. He made some slick plays at second base though in the World Series. So it's like, okay, what can he be there? Is he as bad as a lot of people are saying? Are there some things he can adjust to be a better defender? But that home run he hit in Game 7 to dead center off of Ohtani was bad fucking ass. I was like, imagine him in pinstripes doing that to great pitching. Like that's the kind of shit we need. He had like 400 in the World Series. The only playoff series he actually played, right? I think was just the World Series. I think he played 7 games because he was hurt. Imagine coming off of an injury you've been battling for so long. You're gimpy.
I'd be tempted to make him play short. Yeah, I'd be tempted to make him play short and just ship Volpe because
ship Volpe to Guantanamo Bay.
I can put up with certain deficiencies if like the lineup. I don't know, dude. Ideally for me, I'm gonna back out what I just said. I'm gonna totally rescind everything I just said. I don't think they're gonna trade Volpe. It's pointless to even entertain that. I think if
release him,
if it's somewhat realistic, to have Bichette play third, I'm in. But
I'm looking at Bo's defensive metrics at shortstop real quick. Can we just talk about for a brief moment how annoying the Fangraphs configuration is for that website? It's constantly refreshing. There's ads popping up all over the place.
I hate it.
It's so antiquated. They need to get that thing better. And look, there's a giant Dove ad that just popped up. Like, get this out of my fucking face. We're going on a crazy tangent. It's pink. That's for women, I guess.
Well, pause.
And we love women here. There's nothing. That's not a bad thing. So the Fangraphs, shortstop metrics.
Thank God you said that.
Bo Bichette. Oh God, they're horrible. He can't play shortstop. I'm sorry. He's got to move somewhere else. Defensive run save -12.
That's really bad.
Outs above average
really,
-13.
really bad. Okay.
Fielding run value -10. Okay, he can't play that.
Fascinating.
But there's no data on him as a second baseman. And I thought he did decently at second in the World Series. What does a full season of him at second base look like? Who the hell knows? But can he hit? Can he hit in October? That's all I fucking care about right now. The Blue Jays had no problem putting him at second base. If they got away with it, if they were cool with the offense over the defense, why can't we?
We have Jazz, man. We have Jazz. So
I don't know. Can you move Jazz to the outfield? Can he play third base again? I don't know. Do we like that? I don't think so.
I don't think I like that. I think I'd rather do your Ketel Marte thing.
Yeah. Are we putting my name on that one now?
Yeah.
I'm living in MLB The Show world, putting all this shit together.
I mean, I didn't love that either, but it's like that's what's so fascinating about all this is like there's all these trade-offs, and you get hard on certain guys, pause, but like you have other corresponding problems that come up. And if it's just like, well, I really want him, so figure it out. Okay, but they have to figure it out. They have to, and they have a fixed roster, and they have to allocate their funds, and it's like they have to feel good about the way they're doing that and the resources and the time and the development and all these things. And it's like there's people that are in charge of getting the team ready that are also in charge of getting Dominguez ready as well in a very different way. And it's
Let's
Dominguez
touch on that real quick.
Jones. There's a lot.
Do you move with Dominguez this year? Are we giving up on him? Are we letting him play? What the hell are we doing with him?
I think Dominguez, coming off of a pretty major surgery last year with sparing playing time, with what we've seen him do, the flashes he's shown, you cannot trade him right now. You absolutely cannot trade him. I'm not predicting that he's going to grade out the way we thought he was going to grade out when he was 19 years old and be like the next Mike Trout. I'm not saying that, but you cannot trade him now. I think he's young enough, and literally this was his rookie year.
Yeah, real quick. Sorry, Bernard was throwing some of the Bichette numbers out there. All the percentiles on his defensive run save and stuff like that. His arm is not good. Below average fielding run value is not good. So, yeah, he's not a good shortstop. But a team like the Blue Jays, we're just going to attack it here. I'm going to go back to the Blue Jays are a team that we're kind of aspiring to be right now because of how they hit and how they got, they pushed the Dodgers in the way that we couldn't. And they were okay with Bo Bichette playing second base. What does that say? Can we try to make that happen? I don't know. I'm living in MLB The Show land here right now. It's all hypothetical bullshit.
Yes,
but going back to Dominguez, a little birdie told me at the All-Star break this past season, Dominguez was being floated out there in trade requests, trade scenarios often. And I know a lot of people have reported on and stuff like that. But, I had a friend of mine who, a little bit into, I'll tell you later. But he was like, "Hey, Dominguez is getting floated out there in certain trades." And I was like,
Really?
"Really? So they're quitting on him already?" I think it was in Joe Ryan talks for the Twins.
Wow. Well,
So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
For Joe Ryan, I'm in.
They were floating him out there a little bit in different scenarios. A little bit of Sandy Alcantara stuff. Your boy, Miami. There was a little bit of that going on. So I think that. So you got to project. Okay, what's the Yankees outfield going to be? Let's assume they get one of Bellinger or Tucker, right?
Yeah,
they're gonna get Aaron Judge out there in right field, his arms healed up. They're probably going to start Spencer Jones in center field at some point. Where does Dominguez? Is he going to be the fourth outfielder again? You gotta play the guy. Like, are you just waiting for the future? Like, what's the play here for Dominguez? Oh, it's going to come down to Dominguez or Spencer Jones. Who do you keep? Who has more upside?
We're losing
Who do you
Grisham.
trust more?
We're losing Grisham.
No, Spencer Jones is the better defender.
We haven't seen Spencer Jones. We don't know whether Spencer Jones can play Major League Baseball yet.
Defensively, a lot of scouts say he's already there. He'll step into day one outfield and be a top defender.
Right. Okay.
Dominguez.
I don't think all that. I just don't think that you run into 2026 season with Spencer Jones as your third outfielder and no one behind him.
I think you put him at the bottom of the lineup.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying like trading Dominguez because you have Spencer Jones. It seems like a little bit silly.
But do you want Dominguez to be the fourth outfielder again? Or do you go trade for a fourth outfielder and you move Dominguez for a reliever or something? Like, do you give up on the Dominguez project and go out there and get pitching or whatever and let Spencer Jones go out there and blossom, and then you can go get a backup outfielder later?
If you can guarantee Spencer Jones is going to blossom, then sure. But we don't know anything.
If he's hitting ninth for a few years,
dude, he's got low crazy K numbers. He's looked. There's times
that's why he hits ninth. You got to bury him at the bottom of the lineup. But at least you get Pop down there, right?
I don't know if that's what we need on the. Do you want Pop and strikeouts in the 9-hole?
He's going to play good defense, so he's going to be mostly a defensive center.
Dude, have you lost objectivity on Spencer Jones? Are you like such a?
I think you have to find out what he is.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Like now, like he's 25.
You're talking
he has to play now.
You're talking. I get it. Absolutely, we're totally in agreement there. But you're talking about him like we know, like he's a known commodity.
Defensively, yes. The only two things we know about him: he can play center field at a high level, and he's going to hit for power.
To be clear, I don't think we're trading Jones. I don't think we're trading Jones
with a bad average.
I'm not anti-Jones here. I'm just trying to be realistic about what we know about him and what we don't. So and how we rely on that when it comes to evaluating the trade market for Dominguez. I don't think you could just sign, seal, deliver, lock it down for Jones to be in the lineup all year and contributing and not being a sore spot for us at various points.
So as this outfield becomes kind of log jammed, assuming we're going to get a Bellinger or a Tucker, maybe both. I'm just kidding. I'm not going into that shit. Imagine $800 million for two guys.
Let's find Joe Mauer and Josh Hamilton too.
Let's compare Dominguez and Jones, both highly regarded Yankee prospects over the years, both can't touch trade guys over the years. So with Dominguez, you get undersized, you get injury prone, and you get bad defense. With Spencer Jones, built like Aaron Judge, he's a horse, great defender. Back spasms, can we call that injury prone?
Yeah, that's interesting. You think that Spencer Jones' body type is preferable to Dominguez?
I think he's a unicorn.
Okay, but answer the question. I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
I think so because
he's have 6'7", then 5'10".
And I'm not going to fall into he's going to be Aaron Judge because he's the same height thing. He's not. Stop. Aaron Judge is one of one. He's a baseball god.
He's the best we'll ever see.
But when you have Spencer Jones, you have a freak of nature. This guy's a unicorn. He hit great in college when he was more of a full-time hitter. He started out slow in the minors. As he's been playing more, he's developed into a guy who had a high OPS. He was hitting good pitching in the playoffs in the minors, so some high leverage situations there. He played a really good center field defensively. He's got a great arm, really good arm talent. So you're getting a guy who is a unicorn size-wise. His power traits are immeasurable at this point. He can hit a ball 500 feet. He's got speed. He's got a great arm. He's 25 years old. You got to find out he can't be 26 in the minors. Again.
I agree.
He's got it. He's going to probably hit pretty well this spring. You got to give him some free run here to figure out what he is. Because if you're not going to trade him and you're not going to put him in the minors for another year, what the hell are you going to do with him?
Do the same for Dominguez?
I feel like Dominguez had Tommy John surgery. The arm has kind of taken a little bit of hit. He's still got a strong arm. Don't get me wrong. I think
feel like we gave Dominguez all that credence and all that.
We didn't. We did not.
That's all I'm saying.
Which is unfair. I agree. Yeah. But if you're going to give, one of these starting spots to one of the young guys going forward as you kind of build a high dollar outfield, I think Spencer Jones is the pick there.
Well, I'm not saying it's. I agree that it's unfair and all that, but the reason I'm bringing it up is purely from a Yankees interest perspective. Like, what we want is the same thing. We want the Yankees to do well. I think the Yankees trading Dominguez now would be wild because we haven't properly evaluated Dominguez.
Is there a lane for him to ever be evaluated though?
Why not? Not if you trade him, and not if you. I don't see as big of a problem. Maybe this is the difference between you and me right now. Is I don't see as big of a problem having Jones and Dominguez as your third and fourth outfielders.
You're kind of relegating, Dominguez to a bench role again, though. He's never going to get the consistent play.
Dude, we got injuries all the time, man. But all of a sudden you worry less about a Tucker or a Bellinger or a Judge or a Stanton having an injury.
That's true,
right? Because
that's true.
Great, and these things work themselves out. If that's our big problem. Great, man. The Dodgers have that problem. You bet your ass they do.
Every year, look what the Dodgers do, though. Their bench outfielders, their reserve outfielder is a defensive replacement late in the game. Dominguez doesn't have that. I could put him out there late in the game as a defensive replacement as my fourth outfielder and play great defense.
You're right, and that's disappointing.
You're hoping he can hit.
We were told he'd be good defensively, and he's not.
Right, like the guy that put his hands up in the air.
We're being told Spencer Jones is good defensively too. That's the thing where I'm just hitting the pause button. I've seen Jones play many times in spring.
You have.
He's great. He's awesome. I think he's good defensively.
He runs like a gazelle.
Dominguez looked fine defensively too. He isn't. Dominguez. No. Back when I saw Dominguez play at 19, 20 years old, I thought Dominguez looked great defensively.
I got my first taste of him on. Oh my god! Hey yo! Speaking of sus moments. Hey, clip that.
How did he taste, Johnny?
I'm just gonna move on before I get myself in trouble here.
Donnie, no, I'm not. Donnie, on the chat. I'm not gonna hang on to Jason like I did with Andujar. I'm not. I just said that I would gladly trade Jason Dominguez in a trade for a Joe Ryan, etc. I'm stipulating that for the right kind of guy. Yeah, I'm gonna do that if he still has value.
I think Dominguez has a lot more upside than Andujar ever did.
What I'm talking about is I'm a little bit more nervous, I think, than my friend here when it comes to just going into a year being like Spencer Jones with zero experience is gonna be the guy and has we did it with Volpe, and I didn't love that either, and it didn't really work out. So I'm just saying.
But here's the thing with Volpe: undersized, arm was not, regarded as being very good. He struggled in Double-A at a certain time. There were red flags there too, and they're like, "Oh, he's just young; he's going to figure it out." There were red flags there.
Those aren't the problems with Volpe. His arm is fine. It's the bat, dude.
How many times does he bounce a ground ball at first base, though?
Sure, yeah, not amazing.
He throws a dead duck.
Yeah, but listen,
how many times did Ben Rice have to try to scoop a throw
if he was hitting the way he was supposed
to?
No,
that's true. That's true.
So that's the focus.
That's the biggest. Right? We need to get a 700 OPS from the guy eventually for him to keep.
So you're saying you know what Jones is defensively, therefore we can ride whatever he is offensively, but he might not be good offensively against Major League pitching.
Okay. I agree. It's going to be I'm on record saying it's going to be an ugly growth period for him.
Why would you want to just relegate the win now Yankees to having that in the outfield?
Him or Dominguez. You're going to have to figure out one of them's going to have to get an unlimited run here. And if you pay Judge and Bellinger or Judge and Tucker, you got to pick one.
If I had to pick one, I'm picking Dominguez to start the year.
So where does Jones go? AAA again?
Yeah, but you're making me pick one. I'm picking both. I want to have both. You're saying
the guy who led all the minor leagues in home runs.
What? What?
The guy who led all of the minor leagues runs. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not a launch angle guy. I'm on the record. I like the level swing. I like the traditional old school approach, which is what Vladdy Guerrero Jr. does, by the way, boys and girls on Twitter who argue that shit with me all the time. Go watch what Vladdy does off of a fucking tee and then go see what he did in the playoffs, all right? That'll tell you everything you need to know. But Spencer Jones is the traditional high leg kick, sitting on the backside. I'm launching, uppercut, and everything. And he launches the fuck out of some homers. But he can go oppo, he can go pull side, he can go dead center, he can hit anywhere. But the problem is, how bad is the floor going to be for him, in the first year? Is he going to be hitting 125 with a 430 OPS? And you're like, okay, something's got to give here. Like, how bad is it going to be, and how many homers will he hit?
My question for you is, do you want to find that out when you've already made moves that you can't undo?
You have to.
Why do you have to? Why do you have to trade Dominguez?
Because Dominguez is going to be running around out there dropping fly balls and hitting, I don't know.
Dominguez is your Giancarlo Stanton insurance. What can you even get for Dominguez right now?
A good pitcher.
You get Joe Ryan for just Dominguez?
Yeah, you probably have to add a few other guys in there, but
yeah,
I think he can headline the deal and get a good return, maybe a Brendan Donovan type of deal. I don't know.
Man. I don't know.
And I'm not sitting here saying that Dominguez will never be a good defender. I think he's athletic. I think he's really fast. I think he's strong. He's got a lot of qualities.
Fast. He is a great base runner. He's a great base runner.
Oh, and I think as he hits more in the major leagues, the power will play more. I think he's a 25 homer plus guy. I'm not down on Dominguez. I'm just saying, if I'm comparing the two and I'm going to give one of them, unlimited run going forward, I'm going to take that gamble with Spencer Jones because I think there's higher upside. I think the power is real. I think he's like a truck. I think he plays great defense. And some of those things will make it more palatable to watch him flounder as he strikes out at a 45% clip in the major leagues as he, tries to figure it out. Because it is going to be ugly. He's going to strike out 4 times a game, multiple times. People are going to go on Twitter and say he looks awful.
Volpe had great defense when he was hitting like shit for a couple of years there. So what you're saying is you want to have an outfield version of Volpe, but have it work out.
That's what we're trying to figure out here. Where is the floor and the ceiling for a Spencer Jones rookie year?
I think his floor could be really low, man. I don't think you're taking into account the fact that he really could be miserable. It still hit a home run. Like, I think he could be like 2016 Judge. 2016 Judge, man, only got
That's a good comp.
2016, he was so bad. And we were not a winning team, so it didn't matter.
Right.
Judge was so bad in 2016. People forget, man. Because all these people we talked to online, man, they were 10 years old when that shit happened. So, like, to them, Judge is like, Jesus Christ. But he didn't just fall out of a tree. They had to develop him. And they did so in a year where the team didn't really care as much about winning as it did, development. If you remember, obviously you remember, 2017 was the year that they overachieved a bunch of young guys and got to Game 7, with the Astros. Yeah. So we didn't know that at the deadline the year before.
We didn't know at the time in 2016 that they were a year away from potentially going to a World Series. So it was like they were experimenting, trying some things there. I think who was the other guy that Judge came up with who hit a home run? Tyler Austin. Yeah, I think Tyler Austin. I remember that day very, very vividly. That was fun. I think didn't they both homer in the same game?
Back-to-back pitches.
Oh, there you go. So, okay, I'm looking at Volpe's rookie year real quick. He struck out 167 times and he hit 209. If Spencer Jones hits 209 and strikes out 150 times but hits 25 homers, is that a W?
Was that 23 or 22? What year was this?
2023. 2023. He had 167
He had 20 home runs at least, right? 70 RBIs.
21 homers, 60 RBIs. I think Jones can have a better rookie year than Volpe did, but there's going to be more strikeouts.
If he's playing center field every day and playing a good center field,
premium position,
and getting on base, you know what? I'll draw a line in the sand for him. If you can guarantee me that he could get on base at a clip over 310 and play great defense as a center fielder, fuck yeah, sign me up. Let him develop.
Volpe's best on base has been 293.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying 310, because that's like the line of, are you viable offensively? And Volpe is
Right.
not. Volpe is not viable offensively.
Let
Volpe
me
has like a collection of weeks where you're like maybe, and then it's done.
a collection of weeks is
Yeah,
perfectly stated.
He doesn't even get hot for a month. He'll get hot for like a week, and you're like, damn, there it is. There's, Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, I wanted to look at let's see. So Spencer Jones, he played 116 games this season and he had 58 walks. That's not very good, is it?
Say it again.
No, Spencer Jones's on base percentage in the minors, granted, this year was 362.
That's very good. It's combined Double A and Triple A.
Yep. How far does that fall at the big league level? Can he take his walks?
It's all guessing. We're all just guessing, but I would say,
yeah, it's absolutely a guess.
I'm glad to hear it's 360 and not 330.
Right. And when he went up to AAA, it was 3.
I don't think he's getting walked a ton in the major league level, man. I think he's getting walked a lot in minor league games because he's the big bad guy, and those guys are trying to win games down there too. And then if he's batting like 7th for us, they're going to attack him. So
he had 58 walks in the minors this year.
He'll have to hit his way to a 310 OBP.
I think, okay, if you consider the fact that he'll be facing 4th and 5th starters throughout the rest of the season, and he's going to be facing shit relievers, somewhat often, because, not every team has great relievers. You're going to be facing bad teams. You're going to be facing bad pitchers. I think he can run into 25 home runs and play a really good center field because he's shown the ability to hit mistakes, but he hits good pitches too. I've seen them bring a lefty to face him lefty, and he goes oppo to hit a home run.
Who's more valuable? Who's more valuable today on a postseason roster, Dominguez or Spencer Jones?
How much do you value defense?
Dude, I'm just asking you.
I value the defense. I'll go Spencer Jones.
I'm gonna go Dominguez.
There's a reason the Yankees haven't played him in the playoffs at all.
You're thinking about what he might be if he gets a whole year of development, Jones. And I'm asking the question about where they're at right now. And the fact that you would pick Spencer Jones to play for the Yankees in a playoff game, effectively in this hypothetical, making his major league debut in the postseason. How much do you hate Jason Dominguez?
I don't hate him. I just think, if nothing else, if he doesn't hit, you can stick him in center field. He'll cover the gap to gap, and he'll make great plays at the wall, which is what we've seen. He's got incredible speed. He's got instinct. Here's the problem. Dominguez has bad. Dominguez
Harrison Bader was one of the best defensive center fielders I've ever seen in my life. He was incredible.
Yeah. But that's all you can expect from Jones right now because we haven't seen him hit the big league level. Okay, a fly ball is a fly ball is a fly ball.
So he's like Trent Grisham if he couldn't hit.
Essentially, if Dominguez can't hit, what do you get?
Well, look, I'm just saying, as long as you're aware of it, that's a point of view that you're allowed to have, that you rather take a little step back offensively and hopefully improve in other areas in order to facilitate a year of development for Jones in the hopes that he can become an absolute superstar. Is that right?
I think Jones clicks year 3. I think
there will still be. We spent the whole first half of the show talking about how it's so important for us to be a win now.
Year 2 will be important, but here's the thing: they're going to have to start. They're going to start one of these guys. They're not going to put Judge, Tucker, and Bellinger on the outfield together. They're not going to sign two outfielders. When you say click,
do you mean like MVP votes, or do you mean like he'll be good? Like
he's going to improve his sophomore year from his freshman year, obviously. Then once he hits year 3, he's going to drastically improve his K rate, and he's going to have a very good idea of how Major League pitching will be attacking him, and he will kind of grow into who we see him become as a Spencer Jones' prime.
Maybe we should trade Cole and Judge and get some prospects back and just start building for 27, 28.
Hey, look, the Dodgers just had Andy Pages out there, who's essentially a rookie, make one of the best catches we've ever seen.
Dude, we haven't talked about that.
He hit.
Did you
see how much Andy Pages hit in the World Series?
Yeah,
that much.
The Andy Pages catch was my favorite play of the entire postseason. And it reminded me of the Aaron Hicks over IKF play.
The one you shared me that time, yep.
Well, that's on my profile picture. And dude, it's like it happened, and I was just like, oh my god, it happened again. And they almost collided. They did bump into each other. Didn't he knock Kike on the ground?
He did, and
Yeah, like
that
knocked
was
IKF
great
into the wall.
instincts. Those instincts from Pages on that play, because you saw how far he went to go get that.
He just
Like,
never entertained the idea of not attacking that ball.
And
it was never an option.
He knew where Kike was playing, and that Kike was going to try to make an over-the-shoulder catch, which is very awkward and difficult to do. He got on his horse immediately. I got to get there. I got to squeeze this. And that was phenomenal.
Trade Dominguez and Jones for Pages and Mookie Betts.
Sold.
Would you do it?
No,
would you really?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Mookie's a little bit over the hill.
But it's crazy because the Pages World Series situation is exactly what we were just talking about. They kept Pages out there, even though he was doing zero at the plate, nothing. They kept him out there because he played great defense, and he's essentially a rookie right now. Ended up benching him.
Okay.
They benched him because the offense was just not good enough.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
They benched him. They benched him in the World Series because the offense just wasn't good enough. But they put him out there as a defensive replacement in a big game, which is just what we talked about. You can't do that with Jason Dominguez. Are you putting Jason Dominguez out there in center field for that game in Game 7 there? Now you're putting the guy out there who can play defense, or the guy Dean, who put his hands up when the ball got stuck in the wall. He's a light defensive replacement. If nothing else, you're going to get Spencer Jones, who's going to cover a lot of ground and have his great arm and takes great routes. I favor instinct as an outfielder. Dominguez has bad instincts.
I agree, man. No, I'm not.
Look, bad breaks on the ball. He's not. He's afraid of the wall. His bad breaks. His routes are ugly. So
I like Dominguez as our second DH and fourth outfielder.
If we weren't competing right now and they could start both of them, I'd say please do that.
How do you even do that? How do you do that? You put Dominguez in left?
Yeah.
Do you think it's too late to imagine developing Dominguez a little bit more defensively? Like, I think coming off a year and a half where he didn't throw it at all.
Here's what doesn't improve though: instincts.
I hear you.
It's either there
I don't think he's ever going to be a Gold Glover. It's over. It's Jover.
Like that. You've played baseball. You understand this. When you're out there, the ball's hit. Boom. I got to go here. I got to go here. The route's
first
there.
grade is like everything.
And it's instinctual. Like it's not something you can teach it. You can't stand behind a guy in the outfield and go, okay, when this happens, you have to react this way. Like you either got it or you don't. You're either a great outfielder or you're not. Dominguez shows a lot of
when you get guys
shows a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, when their first step is forward, and then they're like, "Wait,
the ball's over your head at that point." So
exactly,
I think he can learn the angles better at Yankee Stadium. I think he can get more familiar with the wall and get more comfortable around it. I still like his arm. He's very fast. He's strong. There are very likable qualities with Jason Dominguez. I'm not, coming on here and calling him a bum because I've vouched for him to play more over the last several years when there's been over Verdugo. But there goes another example of they valued Verdugo's defense over Dominguez in the World Series. Last year, Dominguez didn't play at all in the playoffs. So it's like the Yankees are saying, hey, we're cool with your offensive potential, but we hate you in the outfield, and we're not putting you in any important games because you can't catch the damn ball. So the Yankees are telling you right now what they think of him defensively.
Yeah, and I think if he had a better showing in the playing he did do last year, I think the Yankees are in a spot where they could trade him. But the value he would fetch, I think, is at such a low. Right.
Yeah,
now,
it is. You're selling low.
That I just think that they're not going to be motivated to do it, even if it does make sense positionally. So I was more interested in hearing your take on how confident you were that Jones would just be a thing. I'm hoping. I have all this hope for Jones. I have no knowledge. Zero knowledge of him.
Massive, massive, massive ability and potential there.
Sure.
To the point where this could be a 50 home run guy. By in his prime. I think he's got unbelievable tools.
Look at this last comment here. Is that a bot?
It's a Mariners fan.
Judges
I think they're talking
cheaters.
about the MVP race.
Judge is a cheater. It's Judge,
not Aaron Judge. The MVP voters.
Okay, so
the MVP voters.
So
or judges.
Baseball Writers Association. Okay,
I think that's what he's talking about.
Okay, got it.
But we appreciate you tuning in and commenting. We appreciate the back and forth. Donnie says House City wants a $300 million payroll. The Dodgers released Dean as well. They released some, but they put Dean out there in some very important games, and they said we are willing to let him play some defense. People forget Dominguez took Verlander deep. He did. I was in the building for that game, surprisingly. Donnie says congrats to Judgy. Congratulations to Aaron motherfucking Judge. But let's get back to my Spencer Jones agenda. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I heard Spencer Jones won the MVP tonight.
He won the MVP in my heart.
In your heart.
And yeah. I'm trying to be objective here. I'm not trying to be biased for Spencer Jones for one reason or another. I'm saying if you got to pick one to start this year, you're going to stick both of them at the bottom of the order, and you're just going to cross your fingers and pray they hit eventually. I'm looking at a physical specimen in Jones. I'm looking at an undersized guy in Dominguez. I'm looking at a better arm in Jones. I'm looking at better speed in Jones. I'm looking
Why
at
not spell them with Stanton? Stanton can't play 162. Probably should only play about 80 for being.
But they need to get Judge off his feet and use that rotating DH.
That too. Even a better reason to have guys on getaway days that can go out there and develop and make an impact. I think there's a path to get these guys 400 at bats apiece. While
that'd be huge.
Yeah, while Judge and Stanton are being managed, and still Judge I expect to get his 140 to 150 games. Stanton I would expect even if he's not hurt, planning between 80 and 120. And the fact that you got Jones is a lefty, Dominguez switch hitter, Stanton righty. No more Goldschmidt clogging up the platoon.
Thank God.
So
nice guy. Don't get me wrong. Year. Nice guy. Huge forearms. I gotta say, forearms really big.
Got the job done last year. I'm happy for him.
He's a nice guy. He's a team player. He's a former MVP.
Played well.
I was very vocally against that move, but
great first half.
Yeah, he did what we needed him to do. He crushed lefties and he played good defense, which is all we could ask for. But you see what? So
you know what I'm saying about this the platoon angle with Giancarlo and like, Goldfish out.
I feel like you didn't appreciate Goldfish's forearms as much as you should have.
Sorry, no, I love, dude. I've been talking about Paul Goldschmidt since before he was even a Cardinal.
I feel a little bit of I feel like you've taken it for granted as a fellow gym bro.
No, dude,
as a fellow gym bro and creatine taker, you are
Christmas
ignoring the forearms of this man, and
my
they need
forearms
to love.
Are pretty small. They're not very nice. Show me your forearms.
Come on, let's stop the madness. You don't want to know why these.
I feel like your forearm game is crazy compared to mine.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
I'm more of a deltoid guy.
You're more of a 6'4", built like action figure guy, but I'm going to stop talking about men's body parts here, and we're going to move into some more. I'm talking about Spencer Jones being a physical specimen. I'm talking about Paul Goldfish's pipes. This is getting a little crazy here late.
I do find it fascinating that you think that 6'7" is preferable to 5'9" in baseball. But
did you just say 6'7"?
No, don't do that. Stop. We're too old for that shit.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It was a layup. I just had to take the layup. It's not preferable, but again, I don't want to make the Judge comparison. But the guy, his measurables are off the charts. Hey, yo, this is getting kind of crazy.
What are you measuring?
I'm measuring the heart in his chest. God damn it.
His clutchness has a lot of girth to it.
The speed, the power, the defense, the base running, the arm, the swing is so smooth, effortless oppo power. That's, something you don't see every day. Eddie Snaps, is this turning into a Yankees After Dark podcast? I guess it is. It's been dark here since fucking 5 o'clock.
I'm on the East Coast and I'm ready to go to bed.
It's like what, fucking 3 a.m.
12:30 out here.
I don't know what that. I'm really bad at math, and East Coast time zone kind of gives me anxiety a little bit. So I don't. It could be like 7 a.m. where you're at right now. I have no idea.
It's 12:30. It's after midnight. So
this guy. I'm gonna put. No, never mind. So let's get to our last topic here. I was going to say I'm going to tuck you in.
We're starting to fade, guys. But if you're still with us, thank you. We're so blessed. We love you.
Oh no, you guys are the best.
This is the segment. This is where we give you the lottery numbers. Is right here, right now. So it's well worth it.
You've hung on this long.
Yeah.
Now we're going to reward you with the grand finale. No,
Yeah.
So real quick, I want to touch on this. Aaron Boone on the John Boy Show, I don't know, whatever the hell they call it, said, contrary to popular belief, the Yankees are one of the least analytical teams in baseball, and he has more control over, the day-to-day operations of what a manager does than people think. So the narrative that Boone is a puppet is wrong. The narrative that the Yankees are overly analytical is wrong. So what do we make of that?
Well, I think he was asked what noise bothered him the most, and that was kind of what he came out with. So it wasn't like he volunteered that; it was like he had to think of something. And he's pretty candid with those guys in ways he's not candid with.
But that's a pretty telling response. I mean,
I think it's a little disconcerting to say you're not analytical, because people make a big deal out of that, and if they believe in their analytics, they should stick to it and consider their analytics to be the best. Otherwise, what's the point? And so they're saying least analytical. I think he's really, if I'm being charitable, I think he's referencing he makes a lot of decisions that where analytics have no bearing because it's a gut call, and he wants credit for that.
Awful.
Yada yada. No, you hate him. We get it.
So here's
all the feelings you have for Spencer Jones. It's like the absolute opposite.
So this was a very revealing quote, in my opinion, because of all the things he could have.
Aaron Boone, dude.
This is something we've heard for a second time, because previously, I think a year or two ago, Brian Cashman also said we have one of the smallest analytical rooms. That whole baseball operations analytical department was one of the smallest in the game. So they're not afraid to come out here and say, the narrative that we're overly analytical and everything is by the analytical book, blah, 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 is wrong. They have some rabbit ears here, and looking at Aaron Boone's ears, holy shit, he can fucking hear everything we're talking about here. He can hear me from wherever the hell he is right now. He can hear everything I'm saying. So I hope he's listening closely.
Oh, yeah, the USC game.
That was the one thing he wanted to say in response to that question, you just put out there. And I think a lot of that is he's tired of being called a puppet. This whole idea that he's controlled, they're calling down from the front office to tell him what decisions they want to be made. He's tired of that. He wants to own his own decisions and say, this is me. No one's telling me what to do. I'm over here doing the manager job myself. I don't need to be, I'm not a puppet. I didn't come here to be a puppet, blah, blah, blah. So that brings me to the next point, that if he's not a puppet and he's not following orders, he's really just that bad. And that's a big problem. Not only that, but if you're not being analytical, you're not keeping up with other teams who are being analytical, like the Dodgers. But at the same time,
what was the worst decision this year that stands out for you as the worst Boone moment?
Oh, man. Very recently, continuing to go to Luke Weaver in those high leverage situations when he was struggling badly. Oh, I'm going to my guy. Bro, your guy is broken. He's getting his shit pushed in. He couldn't get an out.
I don't think he's very good at the bullpen stuff. I think you're right. I think it's one of the most important things to be good at as a manager, and he's been bad at it. And I think he really leans heavily on analytics in that regard at his best. And I think when he wants to do his thing, think about Nestor Cortez, where it's like, I'm going to be. Oh, I actually want less of that. I want more analytics and more Brian Cashman putting his nose into things.
And here's the problem. It's like you said earlier. You mentioned this. The problem isn't analytics itself. It's their own analytics, how they're interpreting them, and how they're applying them. That's the biggest thing here. So there was a year there where they had to go crazy at the deadline and add Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo because they were two right-handed. And their analytics said being right-handed or left-handed in a lineup doesn't matter. They're all hitters. They're all going to have their certain outcomes, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. That was wrong. And they were very right-handed, and they went out and got two of the top lefties in the market at that time. So my concern is, their analytics, what are they valuing? When they're going over these analytics, what's important to them? How are they applying them?
I think hard hit rate has been a big one. That's why they love Ben Rice. Hard hit rate. They don't like shy away from strikeout guys. I think that they learned their lesson with Gallo. I think they've established a new threshold where we don't go above a certain strikeout rate. Because they really went like pedal down on like F all that. We're just gonna have everyone that hits home runs and walks.
Right.
There was at one point where we had, Gallo, Stanton, and Judge. When Stanton and Judge are struggling, is like the worst offense in baseball. You learn that you can't. You're not playing the sport anymore, right? So you need guys who can play the sport in addition to guys that are like on different levels when they're hot. Boy, it's a lot of revisionist history, but it does feel like they've kind of responded to various theories that are like true, but they don't always work, and I think they've adapted. So I think where we're at now, what in terms of what we see on the field and how they appear to value players, I think they've made a lot of changes, positive changes over the last even just 4 or 5 years.
I agree.
Yeah, I have confidence in their ability that I didn't have 5 years ago, and to identify talent and to build a roster. I just think they need to start allocating more resources towards doing it for the right now and be a little bit more aggressive. That's really what I think. So
because Fishman has been there for a long time, I just want to know how often is this analytical group being turned over? Is there differing points of view in there in terms of what's important, what's not? This is a team that thought Gary Sanchez was cool behind the plate. This is a team that thought Gleyber Torres was great at second base. This is the team that thought Josh Donaldson should have stuck around longer than he should have. This is a team that had Aaron Hicks out there until he got booed off of the fucking field. Like, there's a lot of things that they've fucked up in the past, and they're learning to, kind of change how they're doing things. But are these same people in the building, or are you finding other people with better, outlooks on what kind of data they're processing? How do you build a roster that's, good for 162 and also good in the playoffs? What is your philosophy on clutch? Is clutch a thing? Because the Blue Jays' new hitting coach thought clutch was a thing, and they look just fine. A lot of analytical guys don't think clutch is a thing, or being hot. This guy's on fire right now.
Let's do a thought exercise for a second. A thought exercise. So, in a world where the Blue Jays don't make the World Series, it could still be true that their development guys or their hitting coach believes in teaching clutch, and you could still fail. It just so happens that we're hyper fixated on the World Series.
It's refreshing to not even the World Series. They went from Mattingly in 2024. I get what you're saying.
Really quickly, though, really, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
We've throughout this show talked a ton about the World Series and the Blue Jays, more than we normally would, and it's because it's fresh in our minds, and it's hard to not have that be the prism with which you view all the conversations we're having. And it's fair. It's fair to do that. But I think we can get a little bit far ahead of ourselves when we think we just need to replicate their model, right?
You can't replicate it because you don't have the players to do it.
Like, you can't put diesel in a high octane engine, right?
Right.
And
but the approach needs to change.
Sure.
Because they mostly they took the offense from 2024 that underwhelmed under Don Mattingly. They injected this new hitting coach with a lot of the same guys. All of a sudden, in 2025, they were one of the best offenses in baseball. They kicked the shit out of us, and they pushed the juggernaut Dodgers to within their last breath of the playoffs. So it's something clicked there with basically the same group from one year to the next, and the Yankees need to identify what that is. Do they need to change their philosophy on what they think approach on what is, what do they value up there? Do they think clutch or hot is real? Do they not think it's real? Is, this Blue Jays guy, they had an interview on MLB Network, and he was talking about, these guys are human. Every guy's different. Some guys up there have a slower heartbeat in bigger moments than others. They value certain approaches with two strikes. He had a very, I think what some of the analytical crowd gets into sometimes is being very rigid on what is the end all be all philosophy on a lot of different things. And I think their inability to adapt or accept the fact that some of these guys are human and they have a heartbeat and some things are immeasurable. I think that needs to be acknowledged sometimes. And I think with the Yankees a little bit, they kind of lose that. And I think,
Well, I wonder if you
adjust their
asked
approach a
Aaron
little?
Boone. I wonder if you asked Aaron Boone where that comes up, he'd have an answer for you. I just think we have to win. We have to have guys that are like you're saying, all your points are good points. And I think they probably would agree with you. I don't think there's as much of like a divide between your philosophy and their philosophy. It's just
Right.
like they're stuck with the guys they have sometimes. And if those guys aren't playing well, it looks fucking terrible. We all thought Anthony Volpe was going to be great, and they're kind of they're taking too long to move on from that. And in the process, it looks really, really bad. That's why I'm worried about rolling in with Jones and everything else, because it's like just there are so few sure things where you can just lock down production, which is why you pay guys like Juan Soto and Kyle Tucker hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, because even right now, as excited as we are about Spencer Jones and whatever else, and we were right there with Volpe 3 years ago, and I didn't have a lot of fear about it back then, and at least you can play defense and all that stuff, but it really does matter. And, the Blue Jays kind of got lucky with a lot of these guys too. They have to go out there and play the games, and they were who they were, but they all got better. And I'm sure there's a lot to be thankful for them around the coaching, but it's also like a million other things. And
but they achieved something that we've been trying to get at for years.
But is it a formula, or is it their whole thing coming together? Like, I don't know.
I think it's their approach. A lot of it is approach. When you get in that batter's box, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to facilitate offense? Are you trying to move runners? Are you trying to, situationally hit? Or are you leaning on your backside and you're trying to lift everything and hit a homer? Those two schools of thought can't mix. You either got to be one side or you got to be the other. I think if I'm the Yankees and I was listening to that guy have that interview on MLB Network, my ears perk up. Where can we find guys like him? Where can we find guys with that ideology? Where do we have to look? Who was he associated with? Who did he learn from? Start figuring this shit out, because that worked for them. And see if you can get someone in the buildings that's similar, that was around him or has similar ideas or taught him or learned from someone similar from him. Get them in the building and start thinking about these things, because what we're doing is not working every year. You're having a juggernaut offense in the regular season. You get to the playoffs and you fall flat on your face. They figure something out. They were good offense in the regular season and they maintained it in the playoffs. How do we do that?
Yeah, they haven't won a playoff game until over like 10 years until right then. So if you can say it's like the players, that's great.
But this guy just showed up this year.
No, I know. And maybe it continues. Maybe people are noticing. Who knows? I don't know. I like the theory. I think it could be onto something. Absolutely. I hadn't really thought about that. So
I just thought it was weird that, because everyone was just talking about Don Mattingly. He was the main hitting coach guy, offensive coordinator is what they called him in 2024, when with the same group they were vastly underachieved. All of a sudden this guy shows up for 2025, the whole mentality changes, and this offense was from regular season to playoffs really, really good with the same group. So I'm like, whoa, okay, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Learn his background, go find people he associated with and see what the hell happened. How can we find someone that's going to teach the hitters to do certain things like this? Because their approach worked. Well, the Dodgers rotation was
our hitting coach has a better track record for a longer period of time.
Rousen?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess track record's one thing, but this guy showed up out of nowhere for them, and the offense was great. Not only against us in regular season.
I'm agnostic on who's better. I'm just looking at the facts. So I think it's interesting. It's like a funny debate, because
I'm a proven guy.
Do we change our philosophy after being like tops in offense the last 2 years, 3 years? I don't know if we change our entire philosophy.
In the regular season, top in the league in the regular season.
But what you're tweaking with things. I don't know. I'm not in the rooms.
We're trying to find the answer to the playoff hitting.
It sounds like maybe you're hoping there's some kind of like magic sprinkle dust that we can throw on things, and that's cool. But
no, they need to change their approach, because their regular season approach against the fourth.
You want
and
Aaron
fifth
Judge to change
starter,
his approach?
He's a god. Do you want Barry Bonds to change his approach?
So
he's on that level.
Who needs to change their approach?
Trent Grisham needed to change his approach. Jazz needed to change his approach.
Okay.
Cody Bellinger needed to change his approach.
So what's going to be more impactful?
All the guys
or the personnel changes. I mean, I think hopefully we can add guys that are.
I thought the personnel was good enough to get there last year. I thought the offense obviously was fantastic. I thought we had good balance. I thought Bellinger and Grisham We're going to bring a mixture of, not the hit a homer or nothing kind of thing. I liked our chances a lot, and the offense fell flat again, which was incredibly frustrating. And I'm just racking my brain, like, how do they fix that? Because the players were good for 162. What didn't work in the playoffs? What worked for them that didn't work for us? And, that's if I'm in the Yankees front office, I'm sitting there trying to figure out why that happened and figure out what the answer might be. Because you can't revamp the whole team and just, 1 through 9, everyone's gone and bring up new guys in there.
Right.
What was the difference? How can we find
You also
that?
can't manage reinventing everyone's approach at the same time. That's a lot
some guys are stuck in their ways, but
also just it's a lot of work to be in the midst of imagine one coaching group being like, we're going to actively change everyone's approach offensively. These guys are pros and they've done it for a long time a certain way. It might be more of a mantra kind of thing, like go up there, be aggressive, or wait, and it feels like the Yankees are very aggressive on the first pitch fastballs.
You can have a philosophy as a group, like a group approach, a group idea.
Changing being a first pitch fastball hunting team, that's totally doable. But if you're tweaking literal, you're saying approach. That's what you mean by approach, right? Like the approach is a collection of what kind of decisions are you looking to make depending on what the count is and situation, what kind of pitches you're expecting to face. I mean, they're usually hunting balls they can hit really hard. They can really, really drive.
And hitting a ball hard is, obviously what you're trying to do.
They're not always, it seems, trying to get a ball that you can hit and hit it. Right? It's more like get the pitch that you can fucking drive.
Right.
Wait, get it, and then don't miss it. And so maybe you're saying a little bit less money ball, a bit more,
and that's the thing, Yankees are all launch angle. I don't think they're all launch angle, but I think that a certain approach allows you to hit really good pitching in the playoffs. And I think the Blue Jays and the Dodgers have both figured out what that is. Obviously, you got to have good players. Good players are good players are good players. They're always going to be good players. But why do our good players not hit in the playoffs against great pitching and theirs do? We have great players. Why do they fall flat and the other guys, don't fall flat? Because we have Max Fried and Carlos Rodon. We put good pitchers out there too. But we have a good team. So why do our guys fail and theirs don't?
I don't know. It's not like the Blue Jays have been there perennially every single year. It's like the first time
they haven't, but they've kind of been working towards what they kind
of. There's always teams every year that go out and do it, and we kind of did it last year, but didn't finish the job. It's I don't know, man. I'm really hoping that we can come back with a better overall team, and then the season's going to be an absolute marathon. And then from the playoffs perspective, I feel like you evaluate that in June and July, and everyone's kind of in the same boat, except the Yankees hopefully can have a bit more capital to make, impactful moves and have the confidence, hopefully in a first place team, to say, the front office is aligned with everything, feeling like we should go for it. Everything's set up, and everyone's healthy, hopefully, knock on wood.
And I think the two teams in the World Series, obviously, you can't really, I didn't really feel this way last year when the Dodgers beat us, because obviously, we know they draft well. We know they have great scouts. They're great on the the overseas acquisitions and scouting. Plus, they have a ton of money. Plus, they bought a bunch of good players. There's not really a formula there. It's just they do those things well. The Blue Jays, because like what you said in years past, weren't really a factor. Nobody expected them to do what they did this season. They came out of nowhere. So, what was the formula there? Because they didn't just have a decent regular season and fizzle out in the playoffs. They beat our best starting pitching, we had 2 Cy Young contenders in our rotation. The Mariners had what a lot of people thought was the best roster in baseball, including Eugenio Suarez, who was acquired. You had what's-his-face playing first base, who was with the Guardians. I forgot his fucking name. Naylor. You got J-Rod. You got Cal Raleigh hitting 60 bombs. You got a rotation of great arms and a bullpen that's so loaded. The Mariners were incredible. They go to a Game 7 and get beat. Then they go to the Dodgers, who are a better version this year than the one we faced last year, and they push them, as far as possible. So I'm like, okay, whatever formula that was that you figured out this year, it worked really fucking well with the same group of guys that underperformed last year. So how can we kind of figure that shit out too? That's what I'm irritated about.
The Dodgers made a ton of defensive mistakes this year that they didn't make last year.
Uncharacteristic.
They had Yamamoto coming in there and being otherworldly and making it happen. They had Ohtani playing way better than he did last year. That made up for it. But it was a totally different makeup of the team. Mookie Betts was non-existent. And they overcame it. They overcame it through performance. And so I'd say the team psychology, I would go even further than approach. Approach is like even more nuts and bolts than psychology. Psychology is like, how much do you care? Should you care more? Should you care less? Should you forget
that
about
stuff,
caring? No, but like that stuff I feel like has a big impact, but everyone's different. It's all individual, right? And
you can want it badly and care a lot and be ass. But if I have a good hitter if I have Trent Grisham with 34 home runs in the regular season, and then all of a sudden he vanishes in the playoffs, what the hell happened?
Oh, it's regression.
Bellinger?
Same thing with Bellinger.
Track record of being good, didn't hit. Stanton had a great regular season, didn't hit.
Yeah,
Jazz,
man.
Great regular season, didn't hit. What's happening there? I don't know. That's why I hope they figure out. That's what I'm saying. I'm just sitting here.
Pitching was better. They didn't feel a confidence that they just needed to move pass the baton. I think they all got up there. I remember being in a lot of the games. It kind of felt like, boy, someone needs to hit a home run right now to get us back on track. Like, oh, someone's got to freaking break this open so we can all take a breath because we're all so tight. Someone just needs to fucking hit a bomb. It wasn't like, we're good. We got this, boys. We got this. We're fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't until after Judge hit the 3-run bomb to tie the game that you saw, even at any point during the Blue Jays series, a little bit of a little bit of bravado. There was none. I felt
confident against them because we were going to get Scherzer, who we've hit before. We were going to get Bieber, who we've hit before. A rookie in Savage, who was kind of unproven.
Dude, we're doing a recap.
Really good.
That's funny.
now we're right here at the end. It's going to be. We're about to wrap it up, but that's my biggest thing here is figure out what worked for the Jays. See if you can replicate it. Try it. You can't change your whole team. You're not gonna, you can't steal their hitting coach, but listen to what he said in the interview.
I like that. No, I mean, I hear you on the Blue Jays stuff, and it's hard not to see them overachieve in that way and wonder how much of it is luck and how much of it's just like potential formula we need to tap into. I totally feel you.
I would, if they weren't so good against us in the regular season too, I would kind of chalk it up to maybe crapshoot.
Yeah, that's true.
But we had a huge series in the middle of the summer. They beat us 4 straight. They swept us in another series. So it's like, what's going on there? They figured something out. I want some of that.
Against us.
It's the kid in class who opens up the Cheetos and you're like, hey, can I get some? Hey, can I have some? Can I get some of that? That's me right now with what the Jays just did. Hey, let me get some of that. Anyways, thank you all for listening to our blabbering for almost 3 hours.
If anyone was on,
we don't do this.
We
don't do it very often. So when we do it, we get on here and we just yap.
We got a lot of pent up juice.
Yeah. We just sit there flirting with each other the whole time. We never talk like this. So
I'm blushing.
Yeah. A lot of off season to go, a lot of rumors. The MVP stuff is over. So let's get into some player personnel stuff. Hopefully we have high hopes. We both reiterated 2026 is a big, big, big year for the Yankees with a looming lockout possibly in 2027. There's good players out there. There's trades to be made. They got to put their money where their mouth is. Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, they got to make the moves. They got to do the shit and figure out a way to get this team in the World Series again and find a way to win it because our opponents are getting better and we need to get better too. So thank you all for tuning in for as long as you did. It was very fun. We will do this again, maybe, I don't know, a month or two. But appreciate you guys chiming in, commenting. All of you watched on Twitter, thank you guys as well. Thank you to Connor for sitting here and listening to me talk about Spencer Jones and the Blue Jays for so long.
Your boy.
And we will see you guys, I don't know, soon. All right, have a great rest of your night, guys. Peace.
Peace out.